Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
Return of the Sun God by Phoenix_A. This is a story where something that shouldn't happen until over 1,000 chapters in happens right at the very beginning. Luffy gains the fully awakened powers of his mythical Zoan-type devil fruit, the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, the moment he first eats it as a child. What comedic scenes will take place here? What happens when he starts out as a god and fodderizes everyone from the start? Big shout out to all the warlords of this channel. You know who you are. Want to stand among legends? Join the channel membership and show your support. Adios.
Chapter 1. Birth of the Sun God. Chapter text. The warrior of liberation will come one day. Legends speak of an ancient warrior, a man of freedom, someone who will one day descend and liberate the world. He will take the people into the sun, and remove the shackles from the seas. They say his body had the properties of rubber. He was white in every way. The world bent to his will. He was always smiling, always laughing. He fought as he fancied and made the people smile. He holds the most ridiculous power in the world. A power that, above all else, grants absolute freedom. He is the warrior of liberation. He who plays the fool and brings smiles and laughter to all. He is a god worshipped by many, the sun god, Nika. I will become a pirate. A little child raised a knife in the air. I'm not kidding. A 7-year-old Luffy raised a knife with one hand up while standing at the end of a ship. I'm being serious here, just watch me, he yelled at a young Shanks. I wonder what you'll pull off this time, though I don't know what it is. An excited Shanks smiled expectingly. Knowing Luffy, it's probably something childish. Uta rolled her eyes while the rest of Shanks' crew laughed out loudly. She sure is right about that. Shanks was expecting something funny or childish, but his smile immediately dropped when he saw Luffy pointing the knife at himself and looking at it dangerously, small drops of sweat forming on his forehead. Oh! Luffy then stabbed himself under his left eye and cried out in pain. This action of his caused everyone to yell at him while Shanks looked at him with widened eyes. You idiot! What are you thinking? Shanks yelled at him and immediately rushed to his side. Uta stared in shock and worry, but she quickly gained an angered expression and rushed over to Luffy's side as well. It hurts. Luffy began to wail in pain while the entire crew started panicking. What's wrong with you? Why would you do that? Uta yelled at him. Sorry. Luffy rubbed his head with tears at the corner of his eyes. He then gave Uta and Shanks a shaky smile. It didn't hurt. The rest of the crew were celebrating Luffy's courage and bravery for actually doing something that crazy. That's a lie, don't ever do that again, Shanks yelled at him. I'm serious. I'm not sorrowed about getting hurt or anything. He then excitedly stood up on the stool. Take me on your next journey, Shanks. I want to be a pirate too. Like you could become a pirate. Shanks laughed at him. It's a fatal flaw for a pirate to sink like an anchor. This made even Uta laugh at him while Luffy just stood up in anger and yelled. I'll be fine as long as I don't fall off the ship. Also I can fight. I'm well trained. My punches hit as hard as pistols. Pistols? Really? Shanks looked at Luffy with his usual smile, like he's heard this a million times already? What's with that look? Hey Luffy, 3 big dudes with 3 beers all hugged. Have fun wherever you're going. He stuck his tongue out at him. Yes. Becoming a pirate is fun. The sea is beautiful and vast. We journey to different islands, and most importantly, we are all free. They all exclaimed at the same exact time, causing Luffy to look at them with stars in their eyes. Uta sighed, but she agreed with them all. Guys, don't teach him such silly stuff. Shanks facepalmed at their antics. The big man took a bite out of the meat, but it's true. Yasop then threw his hand over his shoulders. Regite? A man in the background leaned against his chair and asked, why don't we take him on a voyage? Great idea. Let's do it. But Shanks was entirely against that idea. Then one of you trade places with him. Everyone went back to what they were doing. Much to Luffy's surprise. Weren't you all on my side? In short, you're too much of a kid. I'll consider it when you're 10 years older. Shanks ruffled Luffy's hair. But Uda is almost the same age as me. How come she can go but not me? He pointed at Uda, much to her surprise. Uda is my daughter. I must take care of her, but if she wanted to stay here with you, I wouldn't mind. He looked at Uda, who stared at him in surprise. Wait, really? Great idea. Come on Uda. Why can't you stay back at least? Because I want to go on a voyage with Shanks, she retorted. Sorry. Here, have some juice. He reached out for the juice and placed it in front of Luffy, who smiled and sat back down on the stool, completely forgetting his anger. See, you are a kid. That's not fair, Shanks. Luffy complained. He jumped down and began to walk away while pouting. Luffy, you gotta try to understand how the boss feels. Shanks' first mate, Ben, spoke up. He lit his cigarette and took it out before puffing out some smoke. He's the head of a pirate group. He knows better than anyone how dangerous it is to be a pirate. He's not trying to demotivate you or anything. No, Shanks is just making fun of me, Luffy huffed while crossing his arms. Shanks then smiled a bit while looking at him. Anchor. See, Luffy pointed at Shanks while making walked in and giggled slightly. I see you're having fun. She placed down some wine near him. I just like teasing him. Luffy, do you want some food? Making asked and he instantly smiled at her. Yeah, put it on my treasure lab. Treasure lab again? That's a fraud, you know, Uda remarked. No, it's not. Luffy glared at her while sitting down with a knife and fork. Once I become a pirate and get my treasure, I'll pay for it myself. This made making giggle at him. I'm counting on it. How long will you stay in the village for? He asked Shanks. Stay in the village? Well, we have a couple voyages to go to, then we'll leave and go to the north. Luffy seemed to be satisfied with that answer and started to eat the food making gave him. I'll practice swimming until you get back. Knock yourself out. Shanks and Uda replied at the same time. That's when the door was burst open with a kick and it fell down, revealing a group of bandits wearing confident smirks. So these are pirates? Look pretty damn dumb. While they entered the tavern, Luffy's attention was stolen by a certain small chest that Shanks kept beside him. He took it and began to look at it. We're mountain bandits. We ain't here to wreak the place, the bandit leader assured. He then sniffed the air and smirked. Smells like booze. Making then look at him nervously and apologized. I'm sorry, but we just ran out of alcohol. This made the bandit leader scowled. These pirates seem to be drinking something. What is it, water? No, they're drinking the last of it, she told him. My apologies. It seems we drank the place dry. Sorry. Shanks offered him the bottle he was holding. You can have this if you'd like. It's not been opened yet. The bandit leader smirked and smashed the bottle on Shanks' head, shocking Makino, Uda and Luffy. Bastard. Who do you think I am? One bottle ain't gonna cut it. Aw man, the floor's all wet now. Shanks frowned, completely ignoring the bandit's existence. Look over here. He brought out a wanted poster. I have a bounty of 8 million berry on me. I've killed a total of 56 people and they all impudent like you, so you better watch yourself. His words and actions were starting to anger Uda and Luffy, who took a tiny bite of the fruit. That tastes horrible. We're mountain bandits while you're from the sea, so I doubt we'll ever see each other again. The bandit leader with a smirk, but it quickly dropped when Shanks picked up the glass pieces on the floor and handed it over to Makino. Sorry about the floor, Makino. Do you have a rag? Oh no, I'll do that. She was about to reach out for him but the bandit leader unsheathed his sword and swung it at Shanks' head, narrowly missing it. This action shocked Luffy and Uda even more. Seems like you like to clean. Then get to it. He laughed and began to walk out. Hey, the hell is wrong with you? Huh? Who's this stupid brat? Excuse me, how dare you barge in here and hit Shanks like that, you stupid ape? Go back to the mountains where you stinky pigs belong. Uda sneered, making the bandit leader mad. Oh listen here you little brat. He reached out to her but Shanks stopped him. That's enough Uda. There's no point. I'm sorry about her. He apologized and the bandit leader begrudgingly left. After he left, Makino went over to Shanks' side. Are you alright, Captain San? Yeah, I'm alright, Makino. After this, the entire crew began to laugh at him. That was so lame, he got you good, Shanks. That's so uncool. They all looked at an angry Luffy. Why didn't you guys fight? You guys aren't men or pirates if you laugh after something like that. You're all cowards. Hey, don't be mean to Shanks, Uda yelled at him. Shanks was surprised by Luffy's outburst, but he then smiled at Luffy. He only spilled some booze on me. That's no big deal. I'm leaving. I don't want to be a coward like you. Out of anger, he pushed the entire fruit into his mouth and down his throat. This action caused Shanks and his entire crew to look at Luffy with widened eyes when they realized what Luffy just did. Unfortunately, Luffy forgot to chew because of the anger and the fruit got stuck in his throat, causing him to start choking and he fell down the floor. Luffy, Uda rushed to his side and Makino quickly went and got water for him. Shanks stood next to him and yelled, "Luffy, oh no, he's going to die. Don't you dare die, Luffy." He then looked at the rest of them. "What are you all standing there for? Get over here, he's choking." Here, Makino gave Shanks the cup of water and he looked at Luffy. His eyes widened as Luffy began to slowly swallow the fruit and he managed to entirely swallow it. After doing so, he collapsed back on the ground tiredly. Shanks sighed in relief and Uda hugged Luffy. "Baka, don't scare me like that." "Luffy?" She looked at him as she didn't get any reply from him. Doom dood da da, doom dood da da, his heartbeat. It was different. It was beating in a specific pattern. The rhythmic heartbeat completely caught Uda off guard. Actually, how can she even hear this? Luffy then looked up with a massive smile etched across his face as his entire appearance changed. His eyes turned dark pink and his hair became white and cloud-like. What looked like a yellowish-white cloud floated around his shoulders and neck. On seeing this, Shanks looked at him with a shocked expression, his jaw hitting the ground and his eyes bulging out. Uda looked at him in shock. Luffy. Yes. He suddenly turned to face her with a large smile, scaring the crap out of Uda, who punched him on reflex. Kya. Sorry, Luffy. All the while, Shanks was looking at him with widened eyes. Luffy, is that you? Yes. What's the matter? Luffy innocently asked him. You look different. Uda told him. Luffy blinked a few times as Uda handed him a mirror. He checked himself in the mirror and his eyes widened when he saw his new look. Huh? What's happened to me? That's what I want to know, Uda yelled at him. But I look really cool though. This made Uda fall down on the floor, but she smiled when she realized that he was still the same Luffy she always knew. Luffy. Shanks called him. Huh? What is it, Shaw? He was cut off as Shanks chopped him in the head and began scolding him. Did you seriously just eat that devil fruit? And you're awakened it? You nearly died, Luffy? Why did you do that? What do you mean, Shanks? The devil fruit you ate is special. It's a powerful devil fruit that the world government has been after for a long time. They'll hunt you down when they find out you are it. It also means that you've lost the ability to swim entirely, he revealed, and Luffy stared at him in shock. Now way, you dumbass. This revelation also shocked Makino and Uda, both of who became extremely worried for Luffy when they heard of it. Chapter 2. Luffy's start. Chapter text. The mountain bandits were gone, as were Shanks' crew. It's been about a day since their encounter. Shanks told Uda to stay put in the tavern while they go get supplies before leaving. Uda sighed while waiting in the tavern with Makino cleaning the bottles. It's so boring. Luffy, are you sure you'll be She looked to her right and saw that Luffy was gone. Luffy is gone. She abruptly stood up and looked around. Garp, where did he go? He was right here a few seconds ago. Makino sighed softly as a small smile formed on her face. You know how Luffy is. Always so full of energy. I know that, Makino, but he's also a big idiot. But I'm worried about him. Her words piqued Makino's interest as she stopped doing her work and looked at the little girl. Shanks said Luffy will be hunted down and he doesn't even have to be a pirate for it. I don't want anything bad to happen to him, Uda exclaimed in frustration, and Makino also gained a look of worry. It's alright. Luffy is strong and Shanks is there. He will be fine. You just have to trust in him a little more. Makino smiled, making Uda let out a massive sigh. She rubbed her face, but she did smile regardless. I guess you're right. Suddenly the door slammed open, startling both of them. Make way for us. The mountain bandits from yesterday had shown up to the tavern yet again. The leader looked around with a smirk on his face. Those pirates aren't here this time, Must have scared him off. He sat down and slammed his foot on the table as the others followed suit and demanded drinks. We were walking by again, so we thought we'd stop by. Makino was quiet, but she served them their drinks and waited for them to leave. Uda was seen glaring at these pathetic people with a massive frown on her face. Unfortunately for her, this was not left unnoticed. Huh? Aren't you the kid from yesterday? The bandit leader smirked as he saw Uda. He then started looking around in confusion. Didn't you have another little brat with you yesterday? Where is he now? Uda gritted her teeth and the bandit grinned. He got up and looked down at her. You're that stupid beat that insulted me yesterday, aren't you? Calling me a stupid ape, huh? You think we're stinky pigs, do you? He grabbed Uda by the back of her collar and lifted her off the ground to face him. Uda struggled to make the guy let her go, but to no avail. He was simply too strong for her. Let go. The bandits all laughed seeing the struggling child. The bandit leader smirked. Or what? You gonna cry? Visibly angered by his words, Uda bit his hand, making him yell in pain, and he let her go, making her fall down to the ground. Uda rubbed her back in pain and slowly got up, only to notice the bandit glaring at her like she was dirt. You little brat. He grabbed her and threw her out of the tavern. Makino, noticing this, immediately called for help. Uda tried to do something, but the bandit leader stomped on her, his foot smashing her face into the dirt. Uda tried to pry his foot off, but he kept it firmly in place. He removed the cigarette from his mouth and smirked. We can sell her for good money. Uda's eyes widened at his words and the other bandits laughed while agreeing with their boss. Yeah, let's do it, boss. TCHS. Uda spat while still being pinned to the ground. Huh? You have a problem with me, beat? The bandit leader asked. As a matter of fact, I do. Now get your dirty foot off me, you pig. Her words made the bandit seethe in anger. Stop it. Makino ran to the scene with the mayor of the town. The mayor went on his hands and knees and bowed down to the bandits. Stop it, please. Let her go. I don't intend to fight you. I'll even pay you if you want. Please, let her go. She's just a child. You can't treat her like that. Makino also begged, slightly angered at their actions and desperate to help Uda. Too late for that. The bandit leader said, she made me angry. I've changed my mind. This brat is too mouthy. We won't sell her, we'll just kill her instead. He unsheathed his blade and pointed it at the child, making Makino yell, stop it. I was wondering why there wasn't anyone in the tavern. Makino and the mayor gained a look of face as Shanks appeared behind her. So this is why. Oh, it's the mountain bandits. Shanks calmly stated and stared at the bandit forcing Uda into the ground. The sight made him feel like something was burning inside him. He was angry. Captain San, Makino exclaimed. Shanks, Uda exclaimed. Uda. I told you not to mess with them, didn't I? Shanks scolded, making Uda grumble. Shut up. You wouldn't do anything, so I did. Oh look, it's the pirates. The bandit leader said while smirking. Step any closer and he'll blow your head right off, you hear me, wimp? One of the bandits stepped forward and aimed his gun at him, but Shanks ignored him and simply stepped forward. Didn't you hear him? A step closer and I'll blow your head off. Now that you've drawn your pistol out, put your life on the line, Shanks told him, making the bandit frown. What the hell are you talking about? Shanks pointed at the gun being aimed at his head with a smile on his face. I'm saying that these aren't for threatening people. The very next second, a gun was out up to his head and bang! Everyone looked on in shock as the bandit fell down dead. A fat maw in a green shirt had shot him in the head with a shotgun, making him fall down dead. Now they've done it, these bastards fight dirty. Dirty? Cut that crap, Ben said. You think you're dealing with saints or something? You're looking at pirates, Shanks finished his sentence. Shut up, one of the bandits yelled. You got nothing to do with this. This only made Shanks raise an eyebrow. Nothing to do with this. Listen here, bandit. Whether I'm splattered by alcohol or food, I'll just laugh and forget it. But hurting my friend is unforgivable. Especially so when you mess with my daughter, Shanks expressed, anger taking over his expressions. Shanks. Daughter? The bandit leader questioned and looked at the little girl. This one? Even better, she's the daughter of a pirate, so nobody will care if she does anyways. Lousy pirates. Kill them. Many bandits charged at them, but Ben strapped forward. I'll handle this. Should be easy enough. Ben quickly pulled out his cigarette and pressed it against a bandit's forehead, making him fall over. He then grabbed their guns with his hands and swung his weapon, knocking them all down and scattering their weapons. "Don't get cocky, bandit." The leader grimaced while watching his bandits fall one by one. A few other bandits were left, but they looked fearful. They all stepped back a little bit, drew out their blades to charge at them. Unfortunately, they never left their spot as something was heard faintly from the distance. Doom doot da da, doom doot da da. They heard what sounded like drums beating down over and over again in a rhythmic pattern. This sudden sound made them look around in confusion. "Gomu gomu no. Pistol." A voice was heard from the air, making them all look up. Suddenly, a long rubber-like arm was launched at the bandits and slammed onto the floor, making it bend like it was soft and knocking out all the bandits. This sudden attack surprised everyone, including the pirates, who looked up and couldn't believe their eyes. "Doon doog da da, is that?" Makino widened her eyes. "Luffy?" Shanks exclaimed as Luffy's silhouette was seen in the sun. "Ha ha 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 ha, you ha ha ha. This is fun, really fun." He then spun in the air and the air around his solidified and appeared to be stretching. He then used it as leverage to send him flying at the bandit. Gomu gomu no Dawn rocket. He then crashed straight into the bandit, sending them both crashing and down. The villagers, pirates and Uda all stared in shock as Luffy began to laugh while swinging the bandit around like he was a toy. Ha 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 ha. This is completely ignored the fact that he might have just killed the bandit leader and his squad. Uda's sweat dropped at him while seeing this and Shanks just laughed. "Oh Luffy. That over-energetic little boy. Doom doog da da, doom doog da da, boss, we have to do something about him. He ate the Gomu Gomu no Mi and he even awakened it." Shanks also went deep in thought about this and decided to walk over to Luffy. Luffy grinned and threw the bandit away and made his way over to Uda. "Are you alright, Uda?" Uda smiled and hugged Luffy, making him laugh even more. "See, I told you I'm strong." He then saw Shanks and got excited. "You see that, Shanks? I can take care of myself. I didn't lie when I said my punches hit like pistols." Luffy was happily jumping around, but then his hair turned back and began to droop as he let out a massive sigh of exhaustion. His skin began to droop down as well and he fell on his knees, too tired to do anything else. Uda saw this and quickly grabbed Luffy and held him close to her. The drums of liberation then stopped. "Luffy? Are you okay?" she asked out of worry, making him grin. Hi, I feel amazing. But I'm so tired." Then his stomach growled. "I'm hungry. I want meat." He whined while holding his stomach, making Uda giggle, realizing that despite the transformation and power increase, he's still the same Luffy she's always known. "Luffy!" Shanks called out to him, making him look at him. Shanks smiled and kneeled down. "Luffy, do you want me to train you?" When he said that, Luffy's eyes sparkled as he gained stars in his eyes. "Will you really train me? Does that mean you'll take me with you in your voyage?" Shanks chuckled. "Yes, I will, Luffy." "Yosha?" Luffy cheered happily and Uda was smiled on hearing Shanks' words. Shanks was going to train him. The world government would be after Luffy and he isn't just going to sit down and let that happen. He would teach Luffy how to fight and use Haki. But wait, I'll have to ask Gramps though. He looked a little downcast. "It's alright, I'll talk to him. Who is your grandpa anyway?" Shanks asked, curious about his family. "His name is Monkey D. Garp. He's a marine, and he wants me to also become a marine." "But I want to be a pirate." "No, I want to be king of the pirates," Luffy exclaimed. Makino looked at Shanks and saw that he was pale. He had cold sweat dripping down his face as even his crew were frozen in shock and fear. "What am I going to do to tell him? Garp will kill me when he finds out his grandson will be hunted by the world government because I was careless and he ate the devil fruit." Those were the thoughts running through Shanks' mind right now. Garp-san is Luffy's grandfather? Shanks looked like his soul just left his body and was about to collapse. "I'm going to die. This is the Great Pirate Era. All the pirates from all throughout the world are searching for the One Piece, the great treasure left behind by the Pirate King, Gold Roger. Monkey D. Luffy, a boy whose body turned to rubber after eating the gum fruit and gained the ridiculous powers of God. He now has possession over power that will shake the entire world once the word gets out and the world government finds out. Now, Let's follow the journey of this ambitious young man, whose journey is about to begin. But first, we have to go way at the beginning, after he gained the powers of a god. Right now, inside a place called Mount Corvo, a giant shockwave shook the earth as up came out a massive cloud of dust and bark. Trees were uprooted and chunks of soil and rock were thrown into the air. Akagami, an angry, gruff voice screamed out, a voice filled with fury that echoed through the entire forest. Birds flew away and all the animals ran away from that place as trees began to fall over as something big was stampeding through the forest. "Get back here, Pirate S," the voice yelled, making the victim, who in this case was none other than Shanks, scream. "GG Garp-san, I can explain, please, just hear me you." "Shut up. God damn it Akagami. Do you know what you just did, huh?" The tall, buff old man that was chasing him, now known to be Garp, screamed in fury. Sparks of Conqueror's Haki began to coat the entire mountain, knocking out every living being in that mountain as the entire terrain shook and broke. His massive, muscular forearms were clad in advanced armament Haki as he lifted his hand while towering over the whimpering red head. "You filled that damn brat's head with stupid little fantasies, but if that wasn't bad enough, you let him eat a devil fruit and it just so happened to be one that the world government is after? Now he'll be hunted and executed. You're dead," he yelled and lifted his Haki-clad fist up, ready to bring it down with all his force. Wait. G Garp-san. But his pleads fell to deaf ears as Garp slammed his fist down on the ground as Shanks narrowly avoided that attack. What followed was the total annihilation of the entire forest they were in as debris flew everywhere for hundreds of miles as Garp might as well have just pushed the entire mountain deeper into the earth while also flattening the summit. All the humans close by, mainly a house filled with mountain bandits, stared at the destructive scene with slack jaws. A larger woman with orange hair and a weirdly masculine face was just staring forward with a bulgy eyes and swirling pupils. What did she do to deserve all this? Makino was seen covering her mouth with one hand as she witnessed the power of the hero of the Navy firsthand. Udo was just as shocked as the rest, staring in awe at the unhinged fury of Luffy's grandfather. This is? Luffy's grandfather is a Marine? And the naval hero himself? He's so strong. On the other hand, Luffy was having various different thoughts running through his tiny little brain. For starters, he was scared because he didn't want to get hit by one of those punches from his scary grandpa. On the other hand, he was in awe and wonder on seeing how strong his grandfather actually is. Seeing him effortlessly destroy everything around him for fun was amazing. He wanted to be like that. He wanted to be just as strong as his grandpa. But he won't be a Marine. He'd still be a pirate. On the other hand, Shanks' crew were just laughing their asses off in the background on seeing the trouble their captain was in. A loud boom was heard in the distance, which was later followed by more destruction. Suddenly, an enormous, uncontrolled flare of Haki spread throughout the entire mountain as two large bubbles of red and blue Haki clashed with each other, destroying everything around them. The sky was cleared of all the clouds due to the power behind this clash of strength and all the mountain bandits, Dayton, Makino and Uda lost consciousness and fell over, surprising Luffy. Luffy ran up to Uda to see if she was okay. "Hey, Uda. Hey, you alright?" Yasop laughed and placed a hand on Luffy's shoulder. "Don't worry kid. She's just knocked out, that's all. She's not hurt." Luffy looked up at the best sniper in the world. "And what about Makino-san?" "Same thing. Don't worry about them. They'll wake up in some time," Lucky Roo told him while chowing down on some meat. It is quite impressive that the kid's actually still awake. Brat must have incredible Haki to pull that off. Ban Beckman, the first mate of the Red Hair Pirates, commented about Luffy's mental fortitude. "But what is it? Why did everyone suddenly fall asleep? And how come we are still awake?" Luffy questioned, not knowing anything about Haki in general. "That right there is Haki my boy," Lucky Roo exclaimed, making Luffy widen his eyes at him. "Haki, yes. Haki. I wonder what that tastes like," Luffy commented, making everyone else fall to the ground in response. "It's not edible, eh? Listen here kid, and listen close. Haki is the manifestation of your own willpower. The stronger your will, the stronger you Haki. Everyone is born with this Haki, but not everyone can use it. That clash you see right there is a Haki clash between two supreme kings. Ben told him, and Luffy had stars in his eyes. That sounds cool, ha ha ha. It is. What you saw right now was Conqueror's Haki. It allows you to exert your will on other living things and make creatures and people with weaker will faint. However, people with stronger will can withstand its effects. This type of Haki cannot be gained through training. You either have it, or you don't. That's why it's surprising that you're still awake despite being exposed to both captains, and Garp sans Haki. Lucky Roo or the meat from its bones completely. Eh? Is Grandpa really that strong? Ha ha ha. Is he? Kid, your grandpa is the strongest soldier in the Navy. He used to actively chase and fight the king of the pirates. Gold Roger all the time. Yassip's words shocked Luffy. He had no idea his grandpa was so strong. But Shanks is strong too, at least, he won't die. Ha 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 ha. The entire crew began to laugh again at their captain's misfortune. I want to try that, Luffy screamed in excitement. Luffy, not everyone has Conqueror's Haki. We don't know if you have that type of Haki. Shanks had a massive bump on his head and many scratches and bruises all over as he grumbled in his seat. Unfair. Why wasn't I informed earlier? I didn't know Luffy's grandfather was Garp. Shanks whined in a lower tone and both Makino and Uda tended to his wounds. There, Shanks. I didn't know he was that strong, Makino said while tending to his injuries. I'm still mad, Akagami, Garp snapped at him, making Shanks flinch. Now he literally can't become a marine no matter what, even Luffy himself wanted to become a marine. Which will never happen. Uda reminded him. He won't be able to. With that devil fruit, the world government will be after him, so I can't afford to let him join the Navy. He's going to have a bounty on his head even without being a pirate. Garp was understandably mad at Shanks since it technically was Shanks' fault Luffy ate the fruit. I know, I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can do about that now. But I can train him. Get him ready to fight. You know how his future is going to be, right? Shanks spoke in a somewhat serious tone, making the Marine Vice Admiral huff. Yes, I know. But not now, he bellowed, surprising everyone. You can train Luffy later. For now, he will stay here with these mountain bandits and I'll train him myself until he's ready. After that, I'll send him to you. Oh, and you better keep him safe, he yelled, making the entire crew flinch. Yes. Garp-san, anyway, Dayton. From now on, Luffy will be staying here. Dayton stared at him in shock. What? Any problem with that? Garp glared at them. Not wanting to anger him more than he already was, he all listened TL take him. Good. He then noticed a black-haired boy, who appeared to be just slightly older than Luffy, standing there and smirked. Hey Luffy, this is Ace. He's 3 years older than you and you will live here with them, Garp told him. You can't just do that, Dayton complained. Well, if that's decided then I think it's best that we leave. Shanks stood up while saying this, making Luffy run up to him. Already? Take me with you? I can't take you with me, Luffy. Or Grandpa will kill me? Not yet. You can take him in a few years, Garp huffed, surprising the red hair pirates. What? He's already eaten the fruit, so he's bound to have a bounty no matter what, so I'll have to train him in Haki and then hand him to you for further training. Sighing to himself, he placed a hand on his head and walked out of the house. I should probably contact Rayleigh, he groaned. Come on Uda, we have to go now. Take me with you, Luffy yelled. No Luffy, it's dangerous, Uda told him. I'm stronger than you now. I can take care of myself, Luffy said while flexing a little, but Shanks just sighed. I'll come back for you in a few years Luffy, but for now, you should stay here, Shanks told him and patted his head. Become even stronger Luffy. Become stronger and once we meet again, I'll test you to see how strong you became. Uda cheered and hugged Luffy, who returned the hug with a smile on his face. Alright Uda. Just you wait. I'll become stronger than ever before, and after that, you'll have to join my crew, Luffy declared, surprising Uda, who looked back at Shanks, not knowing what to say. Shanks smiled and nodded, making Uda also smile. Then it's a promise Luffy, when you're ready, I'll join your pirate crew. She. You hear that Shanks? I'll become a pirate all on my own and create a crew every bit as good as yours and then, I'll find the world's greatest treasure, and I'm going to become king of the pirates. Luffy declared proudly, surprising absolutely everyone in the area. Shanks, however, only smiled. "Oh, you're going to surpass us, huh?" In that case. His hand quickly placed itself on top of his straw hat. He then gently placed the hat on Luffy's head with a smile on his face. "I'll leave this hat with you. It's dear to me. Come give it back to me someday. Once you've become a great pirate," Shanks told him while walking away with Makino and Uda tagging along right behind him. "Goodbye, Luffy. I'll see you soon." Uda waved goodbye and Luffy smiled. Tears began to flow from his eyes as he waved them all goodbye and they all left the scene. A loud bang was heard as Dayton slammed a plate filled with massive chops of meat on it. "Come on, let's eat." On seeing the food, all the bandits jumped up to get the food like rabid animals. "Give it to me, fool, it's my meat, you already ate." "I want more. I want to eat meat." Luffy grinned and ran forward, but a bandit slammed his foot on Luffy's head, making him fall over and her bandit ran to the food. "I won't give in to you young people," a much older bandit declared while holding Luffy down. "You've got to share. It's a dog-eat-dog world, get your own share." Luffy tried to get the food by stretching his arm as he noticed how the quantity of meat was rapidly decreasing, but just before he could grab the meat, a dog took it in its mouth, looked at Luffy and then walked away. Now, Luffy was staring at his one small bowl of rice with an unhappy face. He ate the entire bowl of rice in one single bite. "Can I have some more, Pops?" Luffy asked Dayton, who glared at him. "I'm a woman. Do you even know where you are now?" "No, then I'll tell you. This is the den of the Dayton family, mountain bandits that rule Mount Corvo." Dayton said in a scary tone to try and scare Luffy, but Luffy just stared at her. "Mountain bandits? I hate mountain bandits." His past interactions with them didn't really leave a good impression on him. Dayton suddenly stabbed a knife into the ground in front of Luffy. "Shut up, you little brat. We're annoyed by having a kid like you. If you don't want to stay here, then that's fine, you can go die like a dog somewhere." "Easy, easy, boss. I want to eat more." Luffy then looked at Ace, who was chowing down on 2 large pieces of meat. "I want to have that meat too." Luffy whined. He then saw a piece of meat in front of him and smiled. He opened his mouth to eat it, but ended up eating nothing but air as Dayton pulled it back and bit on it mockingly. "These are all from a bison that Ace brought. He gave us a cut of the take so everybody can eat. The mountain bandits' world is rough sailing. You're gonna have to work pretty hard from tomorrow, cleaning, laundry, polishing shoes and weapons, burglary, robbery, fraud and murder. Remember, you can't tell Garp what we make you do." She closed the distance and whispered to him. "1 bowl of rice and 1 glass of water for a day. That's all I can guarantee you. You gotta get everything else by yourself and grow up on your own." "Okay." Dayton fell to the ground and broke the floor, not expecting such an answer. "Okay. Why don't you cry or something?" "I'm fine because Grandpa threw me into a jungle once and there was water to drink and frogs, snakes and mushrooms to eat in the forest. Plus, I'll become a pirate someday so I'll have to be strong." Luffy stood up and stretched his arms. Luffy then noticed Ace leaving the house and got up to run after him. "Where are you going? And did you say pirate? Hey, he's not listening." Luffy ran after Ace, who slammed the door shut on his face. Luffy opened the door to run after him, but before leaving, he looked at Dayton and smiled. "Yeah, that's right, but I won't just be any normal pirate. I'm gonna become the king of the pirates." He then closed the door behind him and ran after Ace, leaving the mountain bandits in shock. "See, he's too ambitious. That's why I didn't want to take care of Garp's grandson," Dayton yelled while pointing at the door as the others tried to calm her down. "Easy, easy, boss." Chapter 4. A Boy Named Sabo. Chapter text. "Hey, Ace. Wait for me." "Hey." Luffy's constant yelling made Ace scowl at him in clear annoyance. "My name is Luffy. Are you going somewhere?" Not responding, Ace drove his foot into a massive tree next to him, making it crack open and fall over. Luffy's eyes widened in surprise when he saw this, even popping out of his eyes as the trees began to roll down the hill to crush him. He tried to run, but the tree rolled over him and crashed into the rock in the distance. Ace just walked away after seeing this. Meanwhile, Luffy was seen flattened on the floor like a pancake, not really in pain, but he found it hard to get back up. After a short while, Ace was walking across a rope bridge over a massive valley. The drop from the bridge to the ground was long, It's impossible to survive a fall from up there. While Ace was walking, he stopped and looked back in shock as he noticed a smiling Luffy standing behind him on the bridge. Ace scowled and walked over to Luffy, who smiled, thinking that he was finally ready to talk to him. But instead of talking, Ace slammed his stick onto the bridge, making the entire thing shake and launching Luffy into the air. In shock, Luffy plummeted down hundreds of feet to the bottom of the valley. Hey, Ace is back. Food. The bandits rushed to dismantle and dismember the animals that Ace brought back home. Ace, you came back alone? Where's Luffy? I thought he was with you. I don't know, Ace replied and walked into the house. It was now night and the bandits were trying to look for Luffy. That fool. Where is he and why hasn't he come back? Maybe he's dead. We're dead if Garp finds out about this. The next scene shows Dayton being drunk and the others trying to control her. What did you say? Get a hold of yourself, boss. I said, it's not good that we lost him on the first day. Who cares? If he dies, he dies. Dayton retorted and drank another cup of sake. Garp is gonna kill us. Dayton ignored him and poured herself another cup of sake. First of all, why should we take care of Garp's grandson? We're not nannies, he has to take care of his own grandson? Why don't you say it to him then? The other bandit deadpanned. You got a problem. I'm already giving up on Ace as it is. I don't care if he dies or not. I'll just tell Garp it was an accident. It's true that the devil's children have the devil's luck. He's the devil's son. If the government finds out about this, what do you think they'd do to us? What she didn't know was that Ace was listening in on the conversation the entire time and stared forward with a stern expression. Easy there, boss. You're getting too drunk. Later that same night, the dog was barking uncontrollably, which served to wake up the other bandits. Who don't you shut up, eh? He was shocked when he saw Luffy and immediately called Dayton. When Dayton saw Luffy, she questioned where he was and why he didn't show up for so long. You're alive. Where were you? What were you doing all this time? Dayton interrogated him while pulling his cheeks, which stretched unnaturally. I fell to the bottom of the valley and was dancing with the wolves down there. After that, they chased me but I kicked their butt. Luffy grinned and pointed behind him. When the bandits looked at where he was pointing, their eyes popped out of their sockets and their jaws fell open. Behind Luffy was around 5 or 6 dead wolves, all beaten to a pulp. Dayton looked down at the boy, who didn't even have a single scratch on him, in surprise. You did this by yourself. She found it hard to believe. Even though Ace does the same thing, he doesn't do it barehanded. Luffy, as far as she knew, didn't have any weapons on him. Not even a stick. Dayton clicked her tongue and picked Luffy up. Alright, since you hunted them by yourself, tomorrow, you'll get to eat a portion of that meat. She opened the door to the room where Ace was sleeping and threw Luffy on the ground. Why don't you go to bed tonight? You gotta work from tomorrow. The moment she closed the door, Luffy went to sleep, which made her open the door again in shock. Already. The next day. What's up? Are you going somewhere today, Ace? Luffy asked after opening the door and laying his eyes on Ace, who was walking away from the house. Ace was certainly surprised when he heard that Luffy killed those wolves by himself, but instead of waiting around, he ran. Hey, wait for me. Ace, let's become friends. Take me with you. He ran after Ace, much to the dismay of the bandits. Boss. He's running after Ace again. Dayton, who was brushing her teeth, saw this and yelled. Hey, you gotta do chores around the house. But Luffy stopped, turned around and looked at Dayton. He pulled the bottom of his eyelid down and put out his tongue in a mocking way. No thank you. You little shit. You're out of control. Bring him back right now, Dayton ordered the other bandits, who failed miserably when they tried to catch him. Ace noticed Luffy running after him and picked up the pace. He maneuvered through the forest, ran under trees and through shrubs, and skipped across rocks. He swung across a river using vines and jumped to the top of a rocky hill before stopping and looking back down at Luffy, who had managed to catch up to him so far. Ace, let's become friends. He then jumped on what he thought was a rock, but he was so wrong. What he had assumed to be a rock turned out to be an enormous crocodile. Multiple crocodiles came out of the water and opened their jaws in intimidating fashion as they tried to swallow Luffy, who struggled at the top of one of their snouts. Luffy's legs were at the tip of the crocodile's snout as it opened its maw to devour Luffy. Seeing that the situation was cleared, Ace jumped away, knowing that Luffy wouldn't be able to chase after him anymore. When Ace returned to the bandit den, he was shocked to see Luffy holding a whole crocodile above him head with a smile on his face. And not to mention, he was completely untouched and unscathed. Ace was shocked at how he managed to dispatch a crocodile by himself without a weapon, but Luffy only smiled. It seems that Luffy brought home even more meat. Unfortunately for the bandits, before they could start to eat, Luffy had already devoured most of the crocodile meat, only leaving some for Dayton and Ace. "Hey, you want some?" He offered a piece of crocodile meat to Ace, but the older boy just walked away, leaving Luffy standing there by himself. "Oh, does he not like crocodile meat?" Luffy questioned before consuming the entire thing in one bite, bones and everything. The 8th day, "Ace, wait for me." Luffy ran after Ace again. "Work, you little shit," Dayton yelled. "It's no use. Bring him back. I'm not gonna lose him today." He saw Ace skipping across rocks and smirked. "I can do that too." He did the exact same thing and nearly made it to the top, but several chunks of rocks were thrown at him from the other side, falling onto him and squashing him like a pancake. 10 days have passed. Luffy, Dayton called his name. "He's gone already. Look for him." He kept going after Ace and kept losing him. This happened every single day. Luffy was seen panicking when a massive 100-foot snake tried to eat him. Luffy later used that snake as a jump rope and dragged it back to eat, much to the astonishment of the mountain bandits. The next scene involves him jumping at Ace, only to be kicked down a massive cliff. 2 months. It didn't matter if it rained or if it was windy. The next scene shows Luffy being picked up by the wind, making Dayton stare out the window in shock. But Luffy never gave up. At the same time, he never used his devil fruit abilities to try and catch up to Ace, only using it when he got into trouble. Is Luffy chasing Ace again? How does he never learn after getting hurt so many times? I don't think he was really hurt. He reminded how Luffy never actually got any injure what animal he came across. "Damn, he has to stop making me worry," Dayton complained. "So you were worried? And no way, stop talking nonsense." They all later screamed on seeing Luffy's face, which was covered with bee stings and swollen in comedic fashion. Probably the first time he's actually gotten hurt in the past 2 months. "A beehive fell on me." "Who are you?" The bandits didn't even recognize Luffy for a second, before Luffy shook his head until it was a blur and only eyes could be seen. After that, his face was completely normal again, much to the shock of the bandits. The next scene involves Luffy chasing Ace again, but Ace escaped, again. Ace then quickly hid as he noticed a creature nearby, which Luffy unfortunately didn't. "Damn, I lost him again." Ace runs so fast. He then heard something nearby and smiled, only to realize that it was an abnormally large monster that looked like a tiger. "That's the beast of Mount Corvo. No one can beat it. Why's he not running? It's gonna eat him." But Luffy didn't feel scared. Ever since he got this new power, he felt like he could do literally anything he's ever wanted. "I won't be down to you. I'll show you my powerful fist." Gomu Gomu no pistol. His arm then shot out as it extended from his body and punched the beast in the face, hard. Now, he knew completely that his devil fruit was a zone type, but since Shanks called it the Gomu Gomu no Mi, he named all of his attacks after that. He knows about his devil fruit powers, but Shanks and Garp told him to keep referring to it as Gomu Gomu no Mi as a way to hide from the world government and not give it away. The monster stumbled a little bit and Ace was left stunned by what Luffy just did. Luffy then grinned and his hair turned white. "I've learned how to transform on command now. Hee." He laughed, before stopping and looking up at the glaring monster that was about to crush him under its foot. He screamed in response as his eyes popped out of his eye sockets like it was a comic strip. The monster crushed Luffy under its paw, but that very same paw began to get lifted up by Luffy, who seemed abnormally big. He appeared to be the size of an adult for some reason. "Gomu Gomu no." He then pushed the paw away, making the beast stumble back as his body quickly increased size. Giganto. Suddenly, a newly transformed Luffy turned into a giant, standing at nearly 12 meters tall, making Ace stare at the boy in shock. Ha 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 ha, ah ha 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 ha. Luffy then landed a nasty right hook on the tiger monster face, breaking its teeth, before uppercutting it and making it fall over. He laughed while standing on one leg with the other lifted in the air. Yahahaha. I'm a giant. Yahoo! Ace could only stare in bewilderment as he just saw the young boy turn into a giant and change hair color. Later on, Luffy ended up in a smoky junkyard as he was chasing Ace. A place where unwanted things were thrown and rogues that were shunned from the mainstream society lived. A place called the Grey Terminal. Luffy screamed Ace's name, only to fall into a pile of junk immediately after. After several minutes of searching and running into people, he noticed Ace entering the forest in between Grey Terminal and Mount Corvo. Luffy then grinned before running after him. Ace eventually reached his destination and looked around for someone. Sabo, Sabo, are you there? Oh, Ace. A person spoke from the tree. Sorry I'm late. You sure are. I've already done some work in the city, said a blonde boy named Sabo. Oh yeah? Well, so did I. They both showed each other what they got and Sabo was surprised by Ace's catch. Whoa, you got a lot. Way more than I did. That's a lot of money. How'd you get that? Sabo asked him. I robbed some things near the main gate. Sabo then began counting the money. Damn, you won again. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. It's been 5 years since we started putting money in our pirate savings. We worked hard for it. Ace smiled while looking at their secret stash filled with gold, jewelry and treasure. We sure did. We're going to leave the East Blue and go to places people have never even imagined. It's exciting just to think about it. Now put it away. We can't let anybody see it, Ace told him. I wonder how much we need to get a pirate ship. I don't know. 10 million or maybe 100 million? Long way to go. A pirate ship? Both Ace and Sabo flinched and shut the secret door instantly before looking down from the tree. You guys, are you going to become pirates? I'm gonna become one too. Sabo and Ace both ran down and quickly punched Luffy in the head. Be quiet. The next scene shows Luffy tied to a tree as the two boys interrogated him. But Luffy was least bothered. Ace, I didn't know you traveled this far every day, Luffy said. Shut up. Is this the Luffy that you were talking about? Sabo asked Ace. Oh, you told him about me. I told him about how annoying you are, Ace replied. He also told me that you're empty-headed. Luffy began to laugh on hearing them say this. You don't realize we're dissing you, do you? He finally got to me even though I didn't take any walkable routes. He's very weird. Even his body is weird. He can change shape and size, Ace commented. Oh, that's because I ate a devil fruit. That's all, nothing too serious. He didn't mention about the part that he's going to be hunted down. Are you a friend of Ace's? Be my friend too, buddy? Shut up. You can't just call me, buddy. Then what is your name? Luffy asked him. Saw. I'm not telling you. Sabo then looked at Ace before talking. That's why I told you to live with me. The daily round-trip training on a mountain road turned out to be bad. What should we do? He found out secret. He's going to tell someone if nothing is done. We gotta kill him, Ace said in a menacing way. Alright, let's do it. Sabo agreed. Luffy just stared at them in shock and started to whine and cry comedically. What? This sudden outburst took them by surprise. Don't kill me, help me, I don't wanna die. Shut up you fool. Sabo, kill him already. What? You do it? I've never killed anybody before. Me neither, and I don't know how. Don't throw me into water, Luffy blurted out. Alright. Let's take him to the river. Why did he tell us that? He's stupid. Help me. Shut up. Shut up, they both screamed at the same time. I hear a voice coming from the forest. A kid's voice. Some of those rogues from Grey Terminal spoke, surprising Sabo and Ace. Oh no. Somebody's coming. Set him free for now. We gotta move from her or they're gonna find out treasure. They set him free and his as the rogues, who were apparently working for Blue Jam, passed before them. Damn it. I didn't know those things were working for Blue Jam, Ace cursed. You mean you stole that money from them? I shouldn't have taken that money away. That's a real sword. That's Porkamy, a guy that works for Blue Jam. You know he's crazy, right? He strips off your scalp alive after you lose a fight with him, Sabo said. We just have to wait until they pass. Hey, where did he go? They both then noticed that Luffy was missing and saw that very same guy holding Luffy up in the air by the collar of his shirt. Let me go. What do you want from me? How could you get caught? They both stared forward in shock. Let me go. You bastard. Who's this little shit? Porkami questioned. Help me, Ace. Hearing this, the two boys hid. That idiot, he's calling my name. So you know Ace? Porkami questioned while glaring at Luffy. I'm his friend. Oh, but he just tried to kill me, Luffy said nonchalantly. Ace tightened his fists. That fool, he's such a big mouth. I don't know if you know about this. I heard that Ace stole some money from us and ran today. You don't know where it is, do you? Porkami questioned. Oh no. They're gonna take away all of our treasure. I hope that fool doesn't tell them. So, what do ya? Luffy stared at each other as Ace and Sabo waited in anticipation, hoping that he won't spill the beans. I don't know, but he said this in such an obvious tone that everyone knew he was lying. They all laughed at the boy. Alright. It can't be helped that you don't know. I'll help you bring back the memory. This left Ace and Sabo in shock, as they knew something bad was going to happen. What are you doing? Let me go. Where are you taking me? Damn it, stupid, let me go. You bastard, let me go. What are you doing, you bastard? Luffy cried out as the rogues took him away. What do we do? Sabo asked. You know what we have to do. Chapter 5, ASL. Chapter text. Let me go. I'm not gonna tell you anything, Luffy yelled at Porkami. He was tied in rope and seated by the wall as the pirates laughed at him. Porkami walked up to him with a massive hammer and slammed it down on Luffy's body, but the hammer only bounced back and all the force was felt by Porkami's shoulders. I told you, didn't I? My body turned into rubber after eating the Gomu Gomu no Mi. He didn't even bother hiding it. The devil fruit, eh? Looks like you had the real one. Get me a pair of gloves. Why yes sir. Meanwhile, Ace and Sabo were gathering all of their treasure to relocate and hide it somewhere else. Hurry up, we're screwed if they come back. We gotta move our treasure somewhere else, it's a matter of time before Luffy tells them. They'll take not only what we stole from them, but all of our pirate savings that we've spent 5 years collecting. Meanwhile, the pirates hung Luffy to the ceiling while still having his arms tied around his body. Listen, you little shit. The money that your friend Ace stole from us is very important to our pirate crew. And you know where it is. He said this while putting on a pair of gloves with sharp spiked steel knuckles specifically meant to impale and rip flesh. So I need you to tell us, he said while holding the gloves fist out threateningly. No, Luffy glared at him. Seeing this, Porkami made Luffy swing a little before swinging his fist at him, punching and swiping Luffy's body. But the reaction was not something they expected. The moment his gloved fist made contact with Luffy's face, this body and head caved in to match the shape of the gloves, so even when Porkami pulled his fist back, his face and upper body were literally molded in a different shape. Luffy then began to thrash around. It hurts, help me, why does it hurt? Porkami silenced him with yet another punch to the face, but yet again, this didn't seem to hurt him, though he did feel the pain. The hell is this kid? Well, it looks like he can still feel the pain, even though I can't seem to injure him. That's enough for me. Porkami then punched him again, making Luffy swing around like a punching bag right after it's punched. His stomach also caved in because of this. Guys, go look for Ace and Sabo. We don't have time to stand around. Yes sir. He then punched Luffy yet again, making the boy swing around in pain. Luffy opened his eyes to look at his interrogator as his eyes flickered between black and red. Ace. Sabo ran up to Ace as they were still moving their treasure around. What's the matter? Are they coming after us? No, they aren't. And I bet they won't. His words confused Ace. What do you mean? That kid, Luffy. He hasn't told them anything. This revelation came as a surprise to Ace, who certainly did not expect this. What? I'm sure they're torturing him right now. I thought that he'd just tell them because he's dumb and cries so much. It doesn't make sense. If nothing is done, he'll... Ace gritted his teeth and looked at Sabo with anxious eyes. Spit it out already. Porkami continued to punch him over and over as the others tried to reason with him. Porkami, there's no point. He doesn't have the energy to even scream now. I bet he won't say anything. Show some mercy. But all that got him was a punch to the face. Go look for Ace and Sabo if you have time to speak for the kid. We're the ones that are in danger of death. Don't you see it? We're already too late to give that money to Captain Bluejam? What Koby didn't notice, however, was the sudden convulsion Luffy has as his heart rate starts to skyrocket. Say it, he kept punching Luffy over and over again. But Luffy didn't respond to this. He didn't even move or cry. It was like he was out for the count. Stop trying to keep a secret like an adult and just put it out, say it. Hey, hold on. Are you? His face turned into one of comedic anger as his sharp teeth were showed when he yelled at Luffy. Are you sleeping? Luffy was unconscious and an air bubble was formed by his nose as he snored softly. Wake up. This isn't the time for a freaking nap. Wake up and spit it out. He punched Luffy super hard, making him snap out of his sleepy state and looked around in confusion, before slowly remembering the situation he was in. Stop being such a brat and just tell me where the treasure is. Koby was livid at this point. This kid wasn't taking him seriously at all. Arg! He began to punch Luffy over and over again as frustration took over him completely. After nearly 2 minutes of this, he finally stopped and allowed Luffy to talk. So, you gonna talk? He lifted his fist to punch the kid again, but Luffy began to croak out words. I. Luffy started to speak softly, making Koby stop as he allowed the kid to speak, thinking that he was finally going to say it. Luffy then looked up with determined red eyes and a menacing grin formed on his face. I won't say it. Ace and Sabo jumped around, smacking as many pirates and rogues as possible with their weapons. Out of the way. We gotta go save him. Just as they were about to reach the hut, they began slowing down. Doom doog da da, doom doog da da, hey, Ace. What's that weird sound? I don't know. It sounds like drums? Suddenly, the hut the pirates were in broke apart, sending pieces of wood, metal and glass flying in all directions, much to the surprise of the two boys. What? From the rubble, 3 screaming pirates were launched into the sky until they were nothing but dots in the distance. Following this, the dust cleared up and a giant head emerged from the house. The massive head of Luffy, whose head was now nearly twice as big as a house, laughed hysterically while having a mouth full of wood and glass. His hair was white and his eyes were dark pink with clouds floating around him. He was in his Nika transformation. Both Ace's and Sabo's faces turned purple on seeing this before both of their jaws dropped and their eyes popped out of their heads multiple times, making comedic sounds in the process. Doom doog da da, doom doog da da, ya ha 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 ha, ah ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. How'd you like that? Hee hee hee. Luffy laughed uncontrollably, not even feeling the pain from the injuries he suffered due to the torture he endured. What the hell is this brat? Koby cried out as Luffy's foot embedded itself into his stomach, making him spit. Luffy's foot went into the man's torso and Koby's body stretched, molding itself to match the shape of Luffy's foot. Yahoo! Have fun! Luffy laughed before pumping a lot of energy down his leg until it reaches his foot. This power then launched Koby into the sky until he was nothing but a small dot in the air. Luffy then began to spin around like a malfunctioning toy and twisted in the air before falling on his back. He laughed like a man possessed while covering his eyes with his hand. The ground was literally bouncing and stretching like rubber for some reason. His legs were kicking as his laughter echoed through the entire gray terminal. Ace and Sabo stared at the young boy in shock and confusion. What is? Oh, it's Ace and Sabo. Hey, Ace, Sabo, don't worry, they don't know where your treasure is. Luffy reassured while jumping on the bouncy ground. Is the ground bouncy? It's like rubber. I told you, it's my devil fruit. Come on, we don't have time to waste. Let's go, Sabo told and Luffy grinned. He extended his arms and wrapped around Ace and Sabo, much to their surprise. Hold on tight. Luffy then launched himself hundreds of feet in the air, much to the astonishment of the two 10-year-olds, who were legit screaming their lungs out. Luffy then landed safely in the forest where the reminded of the treasure was. He then grabbed his own hand and pulled it. He extended his palm until it became large and he grabbed all the treasure, using his arm like a bag of sorts to carry it all. Let's go going, Luffy asked since he didn't really know where to take this money. Ace and Sabo nodded and led him to their new pirate savings. Ow, it hurt so much. I was so scared I forgot about my power, Luffy whined. Luffy actually did forget that he could transform into this law-defying god, which is the reason why he didn't transform beforehand. Shut up. I hate people who whine and cry a lot. On hearing Ace say this, Luffy immediately shut up. Hey. Thank you for coming. Even though I beat them up myself, you still cared enough to come. Thank you. He was so overjoyed by them actually caring to try and save him that he began crying again, which pissed off Ace even more. Whoa, he's just being thankful. Ace scowled a little. Why didn't you cough it up in the first place? They're the kind of people who'd kill women or kids without hesitation. I thought if I said anything, you wouldn't be my friend. Luffy replied with his eyes shadowed by his straw hat. It's better than dying, isn't it? I'm sure poor Koby was about to bring out a sword and remove your scalp. Ace said. How could he prioritize a friendship with him when his life was on the line? Why do you want to become my friend that much? Ace questioned. Because, didn't I give you a hard time until now? How could you follow me this far? Because. With tiny tear drops in his eyes, Luffy looked up at Ace. Because I have nobody else I can trust. I can't go back to Fuchsia village and I hate mountain bandits. Shanks and Uda are both gone so I have no one else left. If I didn't follow you, I'd be all alone. Being lonely is more painful than getting hurt. Ace was taken back by Luffy's response. Where are you parents? Grandpa is all I have. Is it easy for you when I'm around? Luffy nodded. It's hard when I'm not around. He nodded again. Ace then started having flashbacks of people saying hateful things about Roger and saying that if he did have a child, that child should die. Even calling an innocent child the devil that deserves nothing but the worst as they laughed at that kid's misfortune for being born as the Pirate King's son. Do you want me to live? Ace asked while gripping onto the stick tightly. Of course I do. Luffy didn't understand why he asked such a question, but he absolutely did not want Ace to die. I see. But I don't like spoiled kids like you. Luffy jumped down from the rock he was just sitting on. I'm not spoiled, I'm strong. Strong? You're not strong. You cry like a girl? Ace retorted. I'm stronger than you are. I took out all those beasts and that giant tiger. I even beat those pirates and mountain bandits up by myself. What have you done? I'm stronger than you, Luffy yelled at him. So what? You're still a big baby that cries for every little thing. It hurt okay. I'm only 7. When I'm also 10, I won't cry for anything. I wouldn't cry even if I was 7, stupid, I'm not like you. Yes, because I'm stronger, I'll be the strongest person ever. I'm still better. No, you're not. Sabo just watched the two bicker with a deadpan. How did he end up with these two? I'll be stronger and better than anyone. I promised Shanks and Uda that I'd become a great pirate. You become a pirate? A pirate doesn't cry like a baby when they're denied friendship? I will be a pirate, I'll be the world's greatest. No way. Yes way. Ace and Luffy glared at each other, their foreheads butting against one another and sparks forming between their eyes. Okay, that's enough. Sabo broke the two apart. By the way, I have a problem now. Blue Jam and the other pirates will try to kill us after this for sure, right? This forest that I've been living in is close to where they are, the Cove of Pirates, Sabo told them. What if they attack me while I'm asleep or exhausted? You're gonna die. Yeah, you're gonna die. Yeah, that's why I need your help. Come on, huddle up. They ended up deciding to take Sabo with them to live with the Dayton family. The next day, Ace, Luffy. Ace, Luffy. Ace, Luffy. Ace, Luffy. Dayton and the others were confused on seeing a third kid with them. Ace, Luffy. Who is that? They ended learning that Sabo was going to live with them. Dayton was entirely against it, but after seeing his cute, innocent smile, she just couldn't resist and agreed to let him live here. Also, Sabo called Dayton a truly manly worthless old bag that can't refuse a request. The day after that, when they were running out to the forest again, Sabo ended up warning them that the Blue Jam pirates might show up. The Blue Jam clan might come. Why? We beat up some of his crew. That's why, bye. This left the bandits on shock as the three boys ran off to do their usual shenanigans. Luffy ended up telling them about his devil fruit powers, which at first, Ace thought was lame. But then he told him about the transformation and that got Ace intrigued. Luffy told him that he could also use fire, but he can't control it and he doesn't want to burn the forest down by accident, so he won't. He then showed them his newest technique, Gomu Gomu no Balon. It's a technique where Luffy inflates his own body with air or liquid until it's buoyant and bouncy like a balloon. Seeing this, Ace smirked and kicked Luffy around like a beach ball. Sabo and Ace then used Luffy like a ball as they kicked him around, making Luffy nearly hurl. He then fell in the water and floated around for a bit, but then a large crocodile came out and swallowed Luffy whole, shocking the two boys. "Wait, you can't just eat and run." They both yelled at the crocodile that tried to go underwater, but before it couldn't move, its body suddenly expanded, its stomach inflated into a large balloon. The crocodile appeared to be in pain as it began floating in the air like a helium balloon. "Luffy? What? He can affect his surroundings too?" The crocodile thrashed around in the air before falling down and bouncing on the ground like a balloon. Suddenly, its eyes stretched and formed what appeared to be hands, scaring the heck out of the boys as those stretched eyes grabbed the crocodile's nose and forced its mouth open. A bit more thrashing, and Luffy launched himself back out of the crocodile's stomach in his Nika form while laughing. "Ahahaha. I love this form so much, yahahaha." Later they took a crocodile home to eat with Luffy complaining about how they nearly got him killed, if it wasn't for his devil fruit powers. "Hey, what if the Blue Jam pirates show up at the mountain bandits' place? And what if they do that while we're there?" Ace questioned. "Haha, don't worry, I can take them all on, idiot, you'll just die." "No I won't, I'll beat up Blue Jam and all of his goons if they ever show up. Watch me." For some reason, Ace and Sabo actually did feel sincerity in his words and had some trust in him. He may be an idiot and a crybaby, but they couldn't deny that he was powerful, stronger than them, that much was certain. They end up sparring every day to see where they are. Sabo and Ace. 24-26 wins Sabo and Luffy. 17-33. Ace and Luffy. 19-31, ha. How's that? I won. Luffy cheered. You lost every match where you didn't transform. Without that transforming power, you'd be weak. Ace rolled his eyes. And you're an idiot. It was true though. He was stronger than both of them by a large margin. Yet he lost a few times because I never used his transformation and because he's an idiot and his techniques did more damage to him than they did to them. Let's go hunt crocodiles. Ace suggested. I love crocodile meat, Luffy said. Luffy, don't get eaten this time. Even if you can't really die, you were lucky to get instantly swallowed last time. Sabo didn't know how durable Luffy actually was. It might have been bad if the crocodile actually decided to rip Luffy apart by biting into his flesh instead of swallowing him whole. You wait here Luffy. You can't swim, so you'll slow us down. Luffy jumped at the crocodiles before either of them, surprising both boys. Later, they caught wind of Sabo's true heritage as a noble when he spilled it all to them. They then vowed to become pirates one day. But most of all, Ace and Sabo became protective of Luffy. He accidentally told them about how he would be hunted down by the world government, which sparked their worries. To protect their new friend, they vowed to get stronger. They didn't want Luffy getting captured and possibly executed. I'm gonna become one. You don't have to tell me, I'm gonna become a pirate and defeat others and become infamous, Ace declared. It'll be to only proof of my life. It doesn't matter if all the people in the world reject me or despise me. I'll become a great pirate and I'll show them what I can do. I won't run from anyone or lose to anyone. Because I'm feared or hated or whatever, my name will be known all over, Ace declared and the other two grinned. Alright, I got it. He ran up to the cliff next to Ace and screamed his lungs out. I'm gonna become. The words he spoke right after shocked the two boys. You fool. I was wondering what you'd have to say. I can't wait to see how you turn out in the future. Sabo then smiled at them. We can all become pirates, but isn't the problem that we all want to be captain? I wasn't expecting that. Sabo, I thought you'd want to be a navigator on my ship. Ace revealed his thoughts. You guys can come aboard my ship, Luffy offered. I refuse. They both declined without an ounce of hesitation. Huh? That's not fair. Come aboard. I said come aboard, so you gotta do it, Luffy whined. That will never happen. Yeah, never. Hey, what did you say? But that's okay. This made them laugh. What's that? Man, you're funny, Luffy. They then brought a bottle of sake and 3 cups that they placed on a cut-down tree trunk. Let's just leave them here. Maybe we set out independently," Ace said while bringing a bottle of sake. "Oh, you stole that from Dayton. Did you guys know? We can become brothers if we exchange this cup of sake," Ace said while pouring the same in the cups. "Brothers? Really? When we become pirates, we might not be on the same ship, but our brotherhood will always be with us. Whenever, whatever, we'll always be bounded together." They all lifted the sake cups together and shared it, tapping them together. "We're brother," Ace declared. Yeah, Chapter 6. Harsh Training. Luffy learns Haki. Chapter text right now. It was dinner time for the Dayton family and the three little boys were not letting anyone get to their meat before them. They trampled over everyone and ate as much as they could. Luffy alone might have sent most of them into depression and starvation by devouring more than half by himself, and he would have had more if he wasn't distracted by his older brothers. Dayton sat by herself at the back and drank a cup of sake. She wasn't left alone either. Several pieces of meat flew around, two of which landed on Dayton's head, which pissed her off. "Don't waste food." Luffy then latched his open mouth onto Dayton's head, shocking her and making her run all around the place. "He's gonna eat me." The three of them happily jumped around while taking a bath, leaving the bandits to do all the cleaning by themselves. Unfortunately, immediately after they cleaned the place until it was sparkling, but Luffy messed the place up again. Later that night, while Dayton was trying to sleep peacefully, Luffy ended up falling from the ceiling and landing right onto her stomach, roughly waking her up. The next day, "We gotta kick the kids out. If nothing is done they'll take over the Dayton family. First of all, it's ruining my mental health," Dayton told her two closest friends. "Easy, easy, boss. They got control over us a long time ago." "Shut up. I just can't look at them anymore." "Yes? I'm gonna kick them out. Forget about the agreement with Garp." "Hey." Dayton froze and started to sweat as she slowly turned around, thinking that Garp had returned and heard her say this. Getting on her knees and bowing her head, she began frantically apologizing. I'm sorry, I don't know what made me say that." "Excuse me, I'm pretty sure Luffy is staying here, right?" This made Dayton look up and was surprised on seeing Makino and Whoop Slap. Dayton took them to the bandit house and once they had arrived, out came Luffy, running with a cheerful smile on his face. "Makino." Luffy ran up to her and hugged her legs tightly, making Makino reciprocate his hug. "Luffy, you look great," Whoop Slap commented. "It's been 6 months so we came here to see how you were doing." "Hey, Mayor," Luffy greeted him. "Don't tell Garp-san." Makino sushed him while smiling. "So, you're really living with bandits?" Whoop Slap frowned while staring at them. He too, like Luffy, did not have fond memories with mountain bandits. "You got a problem?" Dayton questioned. "Yes, a big one. You're a bandit, don't give me attitude." "What? Are people from Fuchsia Village all this annoying?" Makino excitedly clapped her hands together. "I have some presents for you. I assume that Garp-san wouldn't think about these things." Makino pulled out brand new clothes for Luffy. "Here it is, new clothes." "Oh, great, I'm glad you like them. I'll adjust the length so. I'll need you guys too," Makino said while turning towards Ace and Sabo, who looked at each other, not sure of what to do. "Okay." Makino's eager smile charmed Sabo and made him walk over, while Ace was still a bit hesitant. "You too." Ace looked away and slowly walked up to her with a flushed face. Makino was now trying the sizes and measuring for adjustments. "I heard that Ace-kun was mischievous, but you seem like a good boy." "And no, I'm not." Ace looked away while blushing. Seeing his reaction, Luffy and Sabo were laughing in the background. "He's so shy. You're blushing, Ace, you jerks." "Oh hey, you can't move." Ace listened to her while silently grumbling. "I'll show them." Later that same day, Makino made an entire feast of several amazing cuisines. Everyone ate well that night. "Meals should be good on the ship. I'm going to get the best cook first thing when I go out to sea," Sabo happily said. "I'm gonna become a pirate before you do, so just forget it," Ace replied. "Not fair. I'm gonna become a pirate first." Luffy, when he said this, failed to notice the large silhouette of a man standing behind him by the door. All the mountain bandits spat out their drinks when they saw the monster of a man. Ace and Luffy stared at them in confusion, not understanding why they all looked scared. Just then, a gruff voice was heard behind them as the scary silhouette of a man glared down at them. Ahem. Both of them appeared to get a little sick and scared, their faces turning slightly purple. They slightly turned back and finally noticed the man behind them, who turned out to be Luffy's grandfather. "You're still spouting crap like that?" Ace and Luffy also did a spit take. "Can't you understand that you must become Navy soldiers?" He then punched both boys on the head. Daiden. Yes. Garp-san. Daiden also received a punch to the head and fell down near the other two boys. "Why should I get hit too?" "Because you're not educating these brats enough." Makino covered her mouth in surprise and Sabo cowered a little. "He's Garp? He's Luffy's and Ace's grandfather?" "Squirt, you mentioned about going to sea, too." He turned to glare at Sabo, but Luffy stood in front of him protectively. "He's not a Squirt, he's Sabo. We exchanged a cup of sake and pledged to become pirates together." Hearing Luffy say this, Ace, who was still in pain, croaked out in annoyance. "He has such a big mouth. Oh, so that means there are now 3 fools that want me to give them a workout? Well, 2 actually. But I'll throw Luffy in as well," Garp said while cracking his knuckles. The next thing that was heard was the screams of all 3 boys in the forest. The 3 of them ran in fright as Garp chased after them. "You can't get away." Meanwhile, Whoop Slap and Makino walked out of the bandit den and headed back to Fuchsia village. "Good grief. You must be happy, Luffy. You have 2 older brothers now." Makino was glad he had people to call brothers. She was glad he had a family now. "Wait," Garp yelled as the boys ran for their lives. "Take this." He punched the ground near Luffy, and this, he backhanded a tree near Ace. Here, he said while putting Sabo in the spin cycle. "This old man is like a monster," Sabo thought as Garp continued his assault, destroying many trees in the process before walking away, proud of his work. "That's it for today. I'm going to be harsher tomorrow." But before leaving, he picked Luffy and started walking away. "But your training has only just begun," Garp said and dragged Luffy downtown. Sitting in front of a large ship, Garp gave Luffy a very simple task. "Luffy, you have to keep punching the ship for the next few hours until I tell you it's enough. You can't use your devil fruit and you will continue until your fists bleed." And with that, Garp began training Luffy with Haki. Every day consisted of harsh training. Luffy was also only allowed 1 small meal a day, much to his horror. But Garp was a strict teacher. Though Luffy did sneak food in and eat them secretly, it wasn't long before Garp found out and punished Luffy for it. Another day showed Luffy screaming and running around for his life as his brothers watched in pity. Garp was throwing cannonballs at him at Mach speeds, destroying everything behind him. Another time, Garp left him alone in a forest for a week and Luffy thrived, but that was short-lived as Garp came back again and training restarted. "Alright, now I'll be teaching you about Haki. You already know what Conqueror's Haki is, but it's time to learn about the other 2. Armament Haki and Observation Haki." Garp explained and Luffy listened. He absolutely hated these training sessions and was afraid of his grandfather, but he knew it was necessary to become stronger. "To help with this, I captured this giant elephant," he said while pointing at the enormous creature that towered over him. This creature was 5 to 6 times taller than Garp. Luffy was in awe of seeing the massive animal, but his eyes widened when the elephant raised its leg to trample Garp under its foot. "Grandpa, Ori, it's trying to crush me with its foot. After that, it'll try to hit me with its nose," Garp said as moved out of the way as its foot came crashing down. Then, almost as if Garp predicted the future, the elephant swung its trunk to try and hit Garp. But the naval hero avoided it without even looking. In fact, his back was turned towards the elephant and he was eating meat. Observation Haki is the power to feel other people's presence more strongly. If you enhance this power, you can't tell where your invisible opponent is, and how many and what their next move will be, and never be snuck up on, Garp said while effortlessly evading the animalistic assault. "Awesome. Next up is Armament Haki. It's the same as wearing invisible armor. It increases your physical strength, durability and resistance," Garp explained as the elephant yet again raised its feet to crush Garp, but this time, Garp showed no intentions of moving. "Grandpa." Garp smirked and lifted his hand up, blocking the elephant's foot and propelling it back and making it fall over several meters away. Whoa! Amazing! Hey! Armament Haki is the only effective countermeasure against devil fruit users. It does not matter what devil fruit they have, if you have better Haki than them, you can defeat them. Logos users are almost invincible because of their devil fruit body, but with Haki, you can hurt them. The elephant then stood back up and trumpets while running towards Garp with berserk eyes. There's another type of Haki that only a few people have. You already know about this one. Conqueror's Haki. Garp released his Conqueror's Haki and the elephant immediately stopped moving. Staring at Garp in fear, it stumbled around and its eyes rolled in the back of its head, and it then fell down, unconscious. Luffy stared in shock as Garp smirked at him. Well, I believe it's time you learned. And, I brought a partner to help train you whenever I'm not around. Eh? Really? Who? Garp pointed behind him and Luffy noticed yet another old man sitting on the branch of a tree while looking at him with a smile. He wore glasses and had a scar on his right eye. This is Dark King, Silver's Rayleigh. He's the first mate of the former Pirate King, Gold D. Roger, and he will help me train you. Luffy was shocked by this. But his eyes twinkled on hearing this. He would be trained by the Pirate King's first mate? Later, the next day, Garp made him wear a blindfold for practice. He then proceeded to throw cannonballs at him and leave him in the forest for the night, making sure he's not allowed to remove the blindfold. Garp never took it easy on Luffy and Rayleigh was no different. Hey, Rayleigh. I have a request. Luffy went up to Rayleigh and asked. What is it, Luffy? Could you also train Ace and Sabo as well? I want them to learn how to use Haki too. That way, we can all be strong together. Luffy smiled and Rayleigh was taken back by his request. The next day, Rayleigh and Garp started training Ace and Sabo in Haki, teaching them the same things they taught Luffy. 2 months later the brothers were all in the Grey Terminal, searching for building materials among the junk there. They had trained enough to learn basic Haki and use it to some extent, but not nearly enough to properly use it. After all, it had only been 2 months and they were all still kids. But today, they were not alone. Blue Jam and his crew ended up cornering Sabo and tried to capture him, but Ace and Luffy came to the rescue and stood around him protectively. But even then, the pirates caught them and Sabo's father revealed himself, showing that he was the one that hired them. PKE Pirate slammed Ace's head onto the ground, making him bleed and Luffy stared in shock. Ace. He then turned towards Sabo's dad and demanded that they return his brother. Hey, give Sabo back. Give him back. Sabo is my son. It's only natural for children to live as their parents say because the parents bought them into this world. How dare you tempt Sabo into running away? You thing wannabe brats. His father yelled at them. Stop, nobody tempted me. I ran away on my own will, Sabo told him. You stay out of this. He then turned towards the Blue Jam pirates. I'll leave the rest to you, pirates. Of course, mister. You already paid us for this. We'll make sure these 2 brats never bother you or anyone else ever again. Wait a minute, Blue Jam, Dad, that's enough. I understand, Sabo cried out. What do you understand? With great hesitation and a heavy heart, Sabo had to give up on his dream to save his brothers. I'll do as you say. I'll live as you want so. Please don't hurt these 2. They are important to me, they're my brothers. Sabo. Then go home right now. You should stop playing pirate. It's just a waste of time, his dad ordered him. Sabo. Just run. You don't have to worry about us. You said you wanted to live freely with us. Are you going to put an end to your dreams? Ace screamed, but was silenced when the pirate holding him down slammed his head on the ground. Sabo, don't go. With tears falling from his face, Sabo had no choice but to leave with his father and the several bodyguards, leaving his brothers at the mercy of the Blue Jam pirates. However, unbeknownst to any of them, Sabo's father looked at Blue Jam and made a gesture by raising his hand to his neck and moving it a little, telling Blue Jam to get rid of the boys. Once they had left, Blue Jam grinned while staring at the 2 boys. Now, what to do with you 2? The incident with Porkamy was rather unpleasant and I lost my money. Now, tell us where your treasure is, and I might let you go, Ace. Ace gritted his teeth when he said this and glared at him. No way. Just let us go, like I tell you where that is. Have it your way then. He made a hand gesture and on a pirate kicked Luffy, startling Ace. Hey, what are you doing? Luffy was about to do something, but a sword came down and slashed his forehead, drawing blood and showing off Luffy's vulnerability to cutting weapons. Luffy rolled on the ground in pain as Ace stares at them in shock. "What are you doing? Stop it. Let me go." The pirate then raised his sword and was ready to stab Luffy right then and there. But just before he could deal the killing blow, something snapped inside of Ace and a wave of energy spread all around. "Don't touch Luffy." A sudden surge of power spread throughout the area and everyone present there aside from Blue Jam, collapsed and fell unconscious. Blue Jam stared at his unconscious crewmates in shock before glaring at Ace, who ran over to check on his little brother. "Luffy, are you okay?" Blue Jam then grabbed Ace by the back of the neck and lifted him up in the air. "What did you do?" He threw Ace to the ground, making him wince in pain. Blue Jam then stomped on Ace, pinning him down with his boot and making Ace gasp for air. "You creepy brat. Do you want to make a fool out of me too?" Blue Jam pointed his gun at Ace, who squirmed around and tried to lift his foot off him, but to no avail. "Shut up, USBAG, you bastard," he smirked, his fingers just about to pull the trigger and end the boy's life. However, Nika Luffy appeared behind him with a furious roar and punched a gaping wound into Blue Jam's back, making his body stretch. Blue Jam's eyes squirmed in pain as Luffy sent Blue Jam flying through the rough terrain of the Grey Terminal. "Don't touch my brother." Luffy glared at Blue Jam with sparks of black lightning coming from his body. Chapter 7, Grey Terminal Fire. Chapter text 1 month before the Grey Terminal Fire. Luffy and Sabo were both asleep in their respective beds, while Ace was still awake. "Not going to sleep?" He heard a voice behind him and turned around, only to realize that it was Rayleigh. "HMPH. I'm not tired." Rayleigh walked over to him and stared at the sky. "I understand why you hate him, but you should know that he was a very different person than what the world thinks." "I don't care about, you and him are very similar." This made Ace look at him in shock. When faced with a cloud of enemies with great power, Roger would never run away. He'd never do that, because he'd leave the loved behind. If he ran away, he would put his crew in danger. Actually, he ran never away, isn't the right phrase. He wouldn't let the enemies ever go after his crew. In those situations, he'd turn into some kind of demon. He once destroyed an entire country's army just because they talked bad about our crew. He'd become violent and short-tempered when angered, but he was naive and straightforward at the same time. That's because his early life is like yours, Ace. This made Ace stare at him with an unreadable expression. "You and Luffy. You're like your Roger in his early age, but Luffy is like him when he was older. Always laughing and smiling. Kind and trustworthy. Everyone liked him. Don't lie, there are dozens of people that hate him." Ace could not believe a single word that came out of Rayleigh's mouth. Were they there with him? Have they fought with him or against him? This made Ace stop. All the people that hate Roger are the people who have never even seen his face. Ask anyone who he was acquainted with about him, and there won't be a single bad comment made about him. Ace could do nothing but stare at him with unsure eyes. The present day the two young boys could only stare in shock and horror as screams flooded the skies. Smoke, soot and the panicked screams and cries of the people of the Grey Terminal filled the air all around them as the two brothers had a clear view of the fire in the Grey Terminal. "What's that? The Grey Terminal is on fire." Dayton and the mountain bandits were just as shocked to see this. Though they weren't near the Grey Terminal, they could still clearly see the smoke and brightness of the flames all the way from their little house. Screams filled the air as people ran for their lives. The stench of rotting, burning flesh was pungent. The two young boys watched with horrified looks as people whose only crime according to the nobility was being poor, were simply discarded and killed off like they were garbage. Ace felt a wave of anger spread through his body. He gripped his fist so tightly that he drew blood. Luffy on the other hand, just stared at the horrific scene with tears flowing out of his eyes. He didn't understand why these people had to die like this. Why? They never did anything wrong. So why must they suffer like this? Despite all the things he says and does, Luffy has never actually seen proper death and destruction before and was laying eyes on such a traumatic experience for the first time. He wanted nothing more than to help the people of the Grey Terminal, and he knew that he probably could. With his Nika transformation, he could probably create a gust of air strong enough to blow the flames, or even control the flames to an extent, But he wasn't able to do either yet. He wasn't strong enough and didn't have that degree of control over his devil fruit. Small sparks of black lightning emerged from his face and eyes, signifying his highly emotional state. Ace noticed a sudden change in the atmosphere and looked at Luffy, who was gripping his fists tightly as more and more sparks jolted out of his body. Seeing this, the bandits and Rayleigh decided to help. Eventually, strong winds began to blow and the fire started to lower and spread out to reveal a pathway that leads straight to a large ship. Rayleigh recognized the ship and the people on the ship and they talked before leaving. As the last of the flames died out, Ace turned his back to the gray terminal and placed his hand on Luffy before pulling him away, back to the bandit house. Ace leaned against the railing while Luffy just sat on the corner by himself. Everyone knew he was in a state of shock. He should have never seen such a thing at this age. He shouldn't have been there when it happened. Ace gripped his knuckles together as he felt bad. He was Luffy's older brother. Though weaker than him, ultimately, it's still his responsibility to protect his younger brother. Sabo, Luffy muttered, grabbing their attention. I want to see Sabo again. Luffy said this and Ace looked a little downcast. Despite the warnings given to them, both Ace and Luffy rushed to the Goa Kingdom to go and meet with Sabo and hopefully bring him back. This time, Luffy would take out anyone that stands in his way of taking Sabo back. When they finally arrived, they noticed something grand. The entire city was decorated and a large group of people, including several nobles and even the royals were all gathered there, by the port. What's all of this about? Ace, look. Ace looked at where Luffy was pointing and widened his eyes on seeing the massive celestial dragon ship coming to the dock. Whoa! That's huge. One day, I'm gonna have a ship just like that. They scoured the place for any sign of Sabo and for many moments, it was useless, until they jumped to the top of a house and noticed a fisherman's boat floating away. Using binoculars, Ace saw Sabo on the ship. It's Sabo. Where's he going? However, what happened next was not something anyone had anticipated. The celestial dragon that was on the ship decided to shoot down Sabo's boat, putting it to a stop and leaving it in flames. Ace and Sabo stared at this in horror and shock as the boat began to fall apart and burn in the fire. Sabo! Ace screamed his lungs out, his voice echoing through the entire place, just as the world noble shot a second time and destroyed Sabo's boat completely. Sabo! This time, both of them in anguish as they witnessed what they believed to be the end of their brother's life. Ace tightened his fist and gritted his teeth until he was bleeding from his mouth and hand. In frustration, he fell to his knees and punches the floor over and over again. Luffy, on the other hand, just stood still with tears flowing down his face. No words were made as Luffy's heart rate began increasing dramatically. His eyes turned red and smoke began to come out of his skin as his fist tightened. Sparks of black lightning began to come out of Luffy's body as he screamed out loudly, releasing a bright red conqueror's Haki wave all around him. Many of the gathered citizens of the Goa Kingdom fell unconscious thanks to this, and a few guards turned to look at the two kids, finally noticed them among the people. Those kids, it's them. Get them, before they disrupt the ceremony. Ace realized that they had been spotted and cursed. Damn, Luffy, we have to leave. He then paused when he noticed how Luffy was completely motionless. Luffy's face was not visible, blocked by the shadow of his own hair as more power crackled out of his body. Luffy then slightly lifted his right leg up and its length was suddenly encased in a tough invisible armament Haki. Gomu no. He then kicked his leg up and stretched it out until it was several hundred meters in the air, surprising Ace. Hey, Luffy, what are you doing? War axe. Luffy then brings his Haki-clad leg down vertically, keeping his leg extended the entire time. The Haki-clad foot came down at unprecedented speeds as even lit up in flames. Traveling hundreds of meters, Luffy stomped his foot right onto the celestial dragon's ship. His heel directly hit the celestial dragon right in the center of his skull and caved his body in as that very same leg ripped through the entire ship, cutting it in half. Fire spread and wood, metal and glass everywhere as the ship was entirely destroyed and began sinking. The citizens, nobles and guards that were still awake stared at the destroyed ship in horror and shock, seeing a world noble get killed right before their eyes. Ace was astonished by his brother's vengeful actions as Luffy retracted his leg. Luffy's foot snapped back into place as he glared at the broken ship with tears rolling down his face. "Get them! Don't let them get away, Luffy!" Ace's scream seemed to have been enough to snap Luffy out of his trance, and he finally noticed the several guards running at them. Quickly, both boys made a break for it, with Luffy transforming into Nika and jumping away with Ace. Now, Luffy and Ace were both standing on a cliffside, watching the blue seas and blue skies. Ace stood there with a frown, but Luffy was laying down on his stomach and covering his face with his straw hat. Ace, who has already cried his heart out by himself, watched Luffy lie on the ground motionlessly, with his straw hat covering his entire head and face. Ace punched Luffy in the head and folded his hands. "How much longer are you going to be here? The treasure from our forest is missing. The survivors from Blue Jam's crew took, or maybe the military found it. I don't know where it is, but I don't care about the treasure anymore. That was the pirate savings that I was gonna share with Sabo. But Sabo didn't need it after all. So I'll just let it go, too. It's no use having treasure if you can't even protect it," Ace told him as Luffy began to cry. Speaking of Blue Jam, let's rewind a little bit to see exactly what happened to him. Flashback: Blue Jam was sent flying away by the force of Luffy's punch as he stood over Ace's body in his zone transformation. "Don't touch my brother," he coldly said, though his smile was still ever present. Blue Jam coughed out blood and tried to get up while glaring at Luffy. "Why you brat? I'll kill you." He shot a bullet at Luffy, who raised his hand in response. The bullet went into the middle of his palm and stretched it back, before it came back into its original place and redirected the bullet back at Blue Jam. Said bullet hit his own leg and he screamed in pain and fell down. "Did you just shoot him? Do you even know how to use a gun?" Ace asked while standing up. "I didn't shoot him. He shot him," Luffy said defensively, before turning towards Blue Jam and asking, "Hey, do you think I shot you?" Blue Jam responded by shooting another bullet, which again redirected and hit him in the butt, making him scream, again. Ace deadpanned at this scene. "I really want to know how you can turn a serious moment into a funny one." Later, Rayleigh showed up and dealt with Blue Jam himself. But Dayton wanted in on the action as well and joined too, and that was his end. Flashback ends. Ace. I want to become stronger, more and more, more and more, more and more, more and more, more and more. I want to become even stronger. Even with this power, I can't protect anything or anyone. I won't even lose anybody. Never. Ace looked down at him with neutral eyes as Luffy cried and declared to the raging seas. "I will not let anybody else that I like die. That's my promise to everyone. I will never lose anyone else, ever again. So please." Ace looked down at Luffy. "Ace, please don't die." Hearing this, Ace's first reaction was to punch his head. "Idiot, first worry about yourself. You're in a much deeper hole than I am. Or did you forget you're being hunted down? Listen carefully, Luffy. I'll never die," he said as Luffy began to get up. "Sabo told me to take care of you, too. I promise that I'll never die. How can I leave a wimpy brother like you behind? Sabo died before he knew freedom. We exchanged that same cup of sake and we're alive. So listen, Luffy. We have to live without leaving any regrets." Luffy nodded while crying at his words. "We gotta go out to sea someday. And live as we like. Freer than anyone else. That means we'll make enemies of many people. Even the old man will become our enemy. You gotta risk everything. To go out to sea at 17. And we will become pirates," Ace declared to the wind. "Ace, Luffy, come down now." Dayton screamed at the boys to come down. On reaching, they realized that Garp was there and he was sitting down next to Rayleigh. "So, it happened." "Yeah, it did." "What are you talking about, Grandpa? What happened?" Garp said nothing and only pulled out a piece of paper and gave to the boys. They took the paper and realized that it was a wanted poster, one with Luffy's face on it. Wanted. Monkey D. Luffy. Bounty. 300 million. All the bandits stared at them in shock as Luffy himself was surprised. Already? Meanwhile, inside the Grand Line, a lone ship was seen floating at sea. Inside the ship, a red-haired male sat down next to a red and white-haired girl. It was Shanks and Uda. "Captain, look at this." Lucky Roo came into the room and handed him something. He handed something over to them, which Shanks took with interest. He widened his eyes on seeing a Luffy's face on the wanted poster. Uda was shocked by the bounty. 300 million belly? At that age? Shanks was silent and let out a sigh, before cracking a smile. "Can't we go back?" Uda asked him. "No, Uda." Garp said 5 years. 6 at maximum. Hearing this, Uda slumped down while pouting. Shanks smiled, knowing that Uda already missed Luffy a lot. 6 years went by really quickly. With Luffy and Ace together, they trained by themselves with the help of Garp and Rayleigh for years, mastering their haki and skill. Ace was now 16 years old while Luffy was 14. Later than same year, Shanks and Uda returned to Fuchsia village to collect Luffy. On seeing Luffy, Uda immediately hugged him on reflex, making Ace smirk in the background. Speaking of which, Ace walked up to Shanks and formally thanked him for being there for Luffy. He learned how to be nice from Makino after Sabo's death. "Ace, you'll leave in 1 year, right? Have fun? Become a big-name pirate?" Luffy told him, and Ace grinned. "Of course I will, Luffy. You continue your training with the Red Hair Pirates." Luffy grinned at this. "Of course, I will. I'll get even stronger. In 3 years, once I've turned 17, I'll set out on my own. With Uda as my nakama, I'll make an amazing pirate crew and then I'll become the king of the pirates," Luffy declared, making everyone else grin happily. "Hey, Captain." Shanks looked over to his right hand, Ben Beckman. Luffy's bounty increased again, he said while showing them an updated bounty poster of him worth 500 million belly. Chapter 8. Interlude, New Genesis chapter text. Uda was seen staring ahead with a bead of sweat running down her cheek. She let out a small, nervous laugh as she saw a bunch of smoke and dust in front of her as the dark rainy skies made it even harder to see. Right next to her was Luffy, who was laying down on the grass and sleeping, uncaring of the rain that had started to pour. His eyes were covered by his straw hat and he appeared to be relaxed, but then his sleeping body twitched, getting Uda's attention. "Uda." His voice was enough to remove her from her thoughts. "They're here." Uda exhaled and stared forward with a serious expression, though one could tell she was still a little nervous. On the other hand, Luffy's reaction was albeit different from the singer's. His mouth just widened into a smile and sparks of haki began to flow through his body. In the distance, the smoke cleared up and revealed thousands of pirates. Thousands. Walking proudly through the grassy land, they all stared at the two teenagers with serious expressions while others laughed and grinned. It was Big Mom's army. As the army continued its approach, Luffy's grin grew wider. He then began to laugh a little and started thrashing around. Suddenly, a powerful black lightning strike erupted out of Luffy's body and the rainy skies split apart. The Big Mom pirates stared at the sky in awe as the clear light began to embrace them all before their downfall. Jumping up to his feet, Luffy grinned and stared at the approaching army. This will be so fun. Spreading his arms out, he released a powerful haki wave all over the place. Luffy then grabbed Uda and jumped above the Big Mom pirates. While floating above them, Uda began to sing. Luffy's arms stretched out and turned massive. Giant-sized, even. His arms dug into the earth and literally picked it up, making all the pirates fall to their butts as the ground stretched out. The now rubber-like ground folded a little, making all the pirates fall towards the center. Uda then made her move. Uda then began to sing a beautiful melody. Her voice boomed through the battlefield and all the trapped pirates listened to her voice. "Have fun, Uda." Luffy smiled and pushed the ground back in, making the entire place bounce around and sending all the pirates into the air. They all then fell back down in an unconscious state as their consciousness was transferred to Uda's world. Years had gone by. Several years. Sailing in the Grand Line under the careful leadership of Shanks, Luffy took in every sight and experience to heart. Every battle, he got stronger. His haki developed. His skills and instincts sharpened. Luffy was in every way a powerhouse by now. He had unlocked advanced armament, observation and conqueror's haki. He had mastered his zone transformation and he had already made a big name in the pirate world, especially in the New World, which is where he spent most of his time. Luffy wasn't by any means large like his father and grandfather, but he had a well-developed physique and trained muscles. He wore an old straw hat, and dressed in an open red shirt, shorts, and slippers, as well as some stolen berries in his pockets. On his open chest, put on display for all to see, was a scar. A ginormous scar that covered his pectorals and upper torso, shaped like a large cross. It was caused by a burn. A burn that was formed during a fight with a very powerful man, back when he was a little younger. Luckily, Shanks helped save him. There was also another person next to Luffy, a young woman. The girl was more elegant and less rough-looking than Luffy was. She was wearing a short yellow dress, with a frilly neckline and a black bow and buttons down the middle of her dress. Her left arm was entirely covered by a light blue sleeve, with an interesting drawing covering the part of the fabric on her upper arm. She also had a set of golden cone-shaped headphones with light blue bands over her ears. It was Uta. Honestly, how did you even get this? I'm still shocked whenever I remember how you got your powers, said Uta, who was sitting on the edge of a ship with a teenage Luffy sitting right next to her. What's there to be surprised about? You were there when I ate it. Luffy half-heartedly commented, not really seeing the significance in what she's trying to convey. I know that, idiot, it's just. Even though it's been years since that day, I still can't help but look back at it. It still feels so surreal. It couldn't help but ponder, letting her mind wander. It is real, though, Luffy questioned, which made Uta deadpan at him. Uta chose not to say anything and just looked ahead, staring into the horizon as the beautiful blue sea surrounded their ship from all sides. I can't believe it's been so long since that day. When you were your devil fruit. You were such a brat back then. Hey, Luffy protested, but who would have thought you'd become this strong? She. I already told you long ago, Uta. My punches hurt like pistols, Luffy proudly stated, patting his chest as he spoke. Soft thump sounds were made, as if his chest was hollow or made of plastic. Peefed, ha 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 ha, Uta started laughing, uncontrollably. What's wrong? Luffy asked, tilting his head in confusion because he has no idea what he said that made her laugh like that. It's nothing, it's just pistols, Luffy. You can flatten mountains with your fists now. I think that's WAAAY more than the force of a pistol. Huh? Oh, yeah, I can do that, I guess. But still, I can't win in a fist fight with my grandpa. This made Uta look at him with a sly smile, clearly amused with what he chose to say. A fist fight? With Monkey D. Garp himself. As if, Uta scoffed haughtily, unable to accept such a fact even crossed his brain at all. You've got a lot more growing up to do before you can start throwing hands with your grandpa, Luffy. I will admit. You have become strong enough to fight him, but even I don't think you can beat him in a fist fight. That's his speciality. You sure? I beat Katakuri already, and I punched Big Mom for you. That last bit made Uta cringe. She looked away, sweat forming on her temple as she nervously stifled her own breath. That. Uta blinked nervously. Then she snapped her head in Shi direction, staring him right in the eye and raising her voice. Why the hell did you do that? Do what? Luffy asked with a puzzled look on his face. You know what I mean, punching Big Mom. You infiltrated Whole Cake Island and dragged me with you, just to punch Big Mom in the face. Uta yelled at him, her voice raising several octaves as she conveyed the frustration in her voice. You told me to do it, Luffy retorted. How was I supposed to know you'd actually go punch Big Mom herself? I was joking? You said I had to do it, I lost that challenge, and I'm not a sore loser like you. Huh? Uta stared back at him in disbelief, shocked by his audacity for calling her out on her tendency to whine whenever she loses. I am not a sore loser, yes, you are, I'm not. Or two. The sound of the two young pirates arguing was drowned in the background as Shanks watched the spectacle from a distance. The head-haired pirate also has his trusty companions, his crewmates, with him. Lucky Roo, Ben Beckman, even Yasop. They were all there, looking at the two teenagers arguing like they always did. Their usual lovey-dovey, couples banter because of their habit of challenging each other. It really has been a while, huh Beck? Said Shanks, staring at what's basically a daily occurrence. Big Mom was interested in you, Uta. There's no way I was going to let her touch a hair on your body. Don't say it like that, still can't believe how far Luffy has come. When I first met him, I didn't expect him to be such a huge player, Ben responded. Uta and Luffy are very close. Ever since he joined, They've always had each other's backs and it will never waver. Uda always looks out for Luffy, and Luffy always looks out for her. I wonder if he'll take Usopp in his crew when he starts his own journey. Yasopp spoke, wondering if he'll be able to see his son with a wanted poster as a member of Luffy's crew. That'll be the day. Luffy never stopped training. Even in his years with Garp and Rayleigh, his training was vigorous. Ace and Sabo were trained the same way, but Luffy had extra lessons and his training was harsher and stricter than theirs. Sabo didn't stick around for long, but Ace did fairly well in his training. Granted, Luffy long since surpassed his big brother and soon started winning every fight. From the beginning, Garp and Rayleigh prioritized their Haki training. All three types of Haki, for Ace and Luffy. Both of them had awakened Conqueror's Haki, and both received rigorous training to get it under control. Garp made sure to limit Luffy's training with his devil fruit to merely trying to transform and back, at will. Over and over again, Luffy was instructed to use his zone transformation, then come out of it, then transform again, and again. The time interval changed every time and it was tricky for Luffy to master since his Nika form seemed to drain so much of his energy, leaving him an exhausted husk after each training session. But they had a whole 6 years to help Luffy master his powers because letting him set sail. Garp was not willing to take the risk of him traveling to the Grand Line as the crew member of a former Roger pirate, without mastering his devil fruit and all three forms of Haki. But that didn't stop him. Luffy would continue to train until he couldn't anymore. It was not a fun experience, but Luffy never complained. Other than constant transformation, Rayleigh also instructed him to try and stay in his transformed state for as much as possible, instructing Luffy to stay as Nika, even when he's on the verge of collapse. And each time, they tried to extend the time limit. Since Luffy was a kid with no former training, mastering his devil fruit was especially difficult. After all, his biggest concern was his malleable rubber body. Luffy, when in his transformed state, was easily able to dish out devastating moves even without Haki. But outside of it, he found it very hard to even properly throw a punch because the stretching of his hand was hard to control. His devil fruit training not only aimed at helping him control his transformation, but also his rubber body. Because of its paramecia-like traits, Luffy's body was now made of rubber by default. So they had to train him in properly using his devil fruit and have him get used to his rubber body. With a fascinating body like that, Luffy could dish out very creative moves, but offensive and defensive. His creativity fueled his versatility, especially so in his Nika form. They also had to help with his pain tolerance, for which they used Haki-infused attacks on him to hurt him. Anytime he failed something, his punishment was a fist of love, courtesy of his grandfather. Sometimes, Garp had Luffy thrown into the forest to fend for himself, telling him to try and fight the animals of the forest without his devil fruit transformation. In his Nika form, Luffy was arguably the strongest thing on the island, barring Garp and Rayleigh. It would have been too easy for him to face off against massive animals and beasts in his transformed state. They wanted him to get strong enough to not have to rely on his zone transformation. After all, the less he transforms, the more time he gets before the world government finds out he actually awakened his fruit. He needs to become strong enough to not have to rely on his Nika form, unless he absolutely needs it. Although Haki training was going well, the hardest part for Luffy was training his rubber body and coming up with creative moves without messing them up, due to the complexity of his physiology. But eventually, he managed to learn how to properly fight without transforming. And then, came the Haki training. Observation Haki training was simple. Sometimes he was deprived of his sight and hearing and had to try to dodge attacks from his teachers. Other times, he had to follow and predict Rayleigh's moves or use his Haki to predict puzzles. Rayleigh even pulled a shanks and played around with a coin, telling Luffy to use his Haki to try and predict where the coin would be. Sometimes, they would tell him to navigate through the forest and find his way back home at the dead of night. Usually, they left him blindfolded, and with his ears plugged. But the training paid off. This one is done not only to improve his Haki, but also to make him stop relying on sight and hearing alone. Many enemies would try and trick him with illusions, since some people have developed skills or have devil fruits that can create illusions. So the only way to fight through them would be using observation Haki. And then there was Garp's go-to training method: deprive Luffy of his sight and sound, before yeeting cannonballs at him. Luffy was made to try and dodge those cannonballs by sensing them. Although most of them were regular cannonballs, Garp occasionally had thrown in a couple Haki-coated ones as well. For Armament Haki and Conqueror's Haki, the best way to train them is to clash them against stronger users. His basic Conqueror's Haki training involved him clashing his Haki with Rayleigh's and Garp's advanced Haki. It didn't take too long for them to realize that he had a much easier time with this than with the other two types of Haki. Garp and Rayleigh could hear his voice, his will. The will of a conqueror, within Luffy. They could feel his Haki develop, and it wasn't that long until Luffy himself also started hearing their voice as well. His observation Haki had developed enough to sense them. When it came to training in general, most of the time went into training Luffy to be strong without relying on his transformation. His rubber body made it especially hard to do this, but he never gave in. For Armament Haki, he was advised to try and cast his arms and legs in Haki and hit things with it. He had long since known how to coat himself with Haki, but Garp had him move on from punching ships to punching mountains and cliffsides. He was also instructed to use it to harden his skin and block attacks from them. Luffy had to spar against them. The two monsters took turns whenever they were available. Garp was usually harsher than Rayleigh when it came to sparring. Luffy usually could never land a proper hit unless he used his Nika form. He still lost to their overwhelming power, but at least he wasn't just a punching bag. They were forced to hop across islands as well, since Luffy already had a wanted poster. The Marines saw Luffy with Rayleigh and immediately backed off. They didn't want to take any chances. The former right hand of the Pirate King ensured Luffy would never be caught. He even met Rayleigh's wife, Shaki. Surprisingly, he and Ace both left to sea around the same time. With Ace being 17, he chose left to spread his own name across the world as an infamous and powerful pirate. Since he also received formal training from Garp and Rayleigh, the former being ecstatic at the thought of training Roger's son, he was not weak in any way. Before long, Luffy learned and mastered advanced Haki. He learned how to imbue Haki into inanimate objects, how to use Haki to damage a person from the inside out, how to see a few seconds into the future, how to cast himself in Conqueror's Haki, etc. Luffy was 14 when Shanks came back, and supposedly, Uta became an idol. Luffy heard her songs being played and he already knew she was world famous. Uta became an idol shortly before she turned 14. Right now, she's 16 years old and despite her connections to pirates, she's still beloved by her fans. So when Shanks came back to the East Blue, Uta jumped onto Luffy and hugged him like a koala. Shanks had never seen Uta as happy as she was when Luffy showed up. Their bond had grown. Despite being an official pirate and even having a wanted poster, her fame never wavered. She used this as an excuse to open up concerts across the islands that she traveled to, which boosted her fame even further. After all, it was Uta's dream to sing across the world. Luffy, at some point, received a chest wound from a Kainu, whose magma burnt his skin and left a large scar behind. Then he picked a fight with Big Mom for some reason. Uta set up a concert in Komugi Island, which was a part of the Toto land, Big Mom's territory. For some reason, Big Mom herself showed up. Nothing bad really happened until Big Mom met Luffy and the two, somehow, got in an argument. One thing led to another and before they knew it, Uta and Luffy were bolting out of the island and had to be bailed out by the Red Hair Pirates. Shanks did not know the exact reason. It was either because of a bet he lost with Uta, or something to do with what Big Mom said about Uta. Either way, not only did he get into a fight with Charlotte Katakuri, but he even punched Big Mom in the face. Uta punished Luffy for getting in a fight with a Yonko so casually, but she was embarrassed and flattered that he'd be willing to butt heads with an Emperor of the Sea for her sake. In the final year, Shanks made a detour and changed the ship to move back to the start of the Grand Line. They had to leave Uta and Luffy behind in the East Blue, due to Luffy's insistence of wanting to start a fresh crew from scratch instead of just grabbing some talented players from the New World. And Shanks respected his wishes. Luffy wanted a strong crew, but it had to be one that he made himself. It was about the journey, after all. And he wanted it to be as eventful as possible. Today's the day, isn't it? That is the only thing Makino could think about. Luffy was officially 17, Uta being 19. That means, it was time for Luffy to set sail and make his own crew, to start his real journey. Everyone in the village was at the harbor, looking at the couple, who were loading their boat with necessities. Luffy was finishing putting the supplies in the fishing boat while Uda checked everything twice, making sure they were not missing anything. Luffy already went ahead and met with Dayton and the mountain bandits again. Just like the last time he left 4 years ago, she started crying uncontrollably. This time though, Luffy actually hugged her and thanked her for everything, before leaving. Everyone was cheering for them, all except the mayor, who grumbled in annoyance and slight fondness. Makino walked up to the front so she could get a good look at the two children that made her days so much livelier. Luffy already had a wanted poster. With a very big bounty. Big even by New World standards, so it's borderline insanity in the East Blue. Bye guys. The next time you see me, I'll be king of the pirates, shi. Wish us luck, everyone, except for the mayor. Everyone laughed. Uda, don't forget to take care of your boyfriend. I will, Uda promised, whilst hugging Luffy from the side. Have a safe trip, Luffy, Uda, Makino screamed, hoping her voice would reach the boat and its sole occupant. She breathed in relief as one of the most beloved denizens of Fuchsia rose to his feet and waved back at her, his smile visible despite the distance. Uda also waved back at her. As the young man turned his back to it, the water in front of his boat bubbled violently. The Lord of the Coast suddenly broke through the waters. The massive beast glared at the small boat in front of it with raw animal hunger. Most of the crowd screamed in horror at the sight of the serpent, but Luffy's laughter overpowered their fear. Makino smiled knowingly. Why's everyone freaking out? It's just one Sea King against Monkey D. Luffy. Whoop Slap rolled his eyes in annoyance. This made everyone stop screaming. Oh, yeah. Well, look who it is. I haven't seen you in a while. Uda leaned back over the edge of the boat and stared up, grinning while staring at the Sea King without worry. Luffy had already appeared above its head. With devastating force, his first found its mark right on top of the beast's head. Its entire body convulsed, its head caves inwards and its entire body slammed into the water and bounced, as if the water was a trampoline. Luffy started falling towards the water. But he didn't panic. Instead, he grinned and slammed his feet into the surface of the ocean. Instead of sinking and drowning, the surface of the ocean also bent like a trampoline, which he used to launch himself back on the boat. His legs stretched as he jumped and soared through the air. Makino laughed. The village soon joined in, cheering and clapping as the future Pirate King landed back on his boat, one hand on his trusty hat. I'm Monkey D. Luffy, he roared, as if announcing his arrival to the heavens above, and I'm going to be the king of the pirates. Seeing her boyfriend's enthusiasm, Uda giggled. Makino smiled as she watched the young man she used to watch over speed through the night in a dinghy barely big enough to hold him, his girlfriend and his supplies. She's heard about Luffy's adventures as a red-hair pirate. She could only wonder what stories he would tell once he returns, after becoming the king of the pirates. After all, this was the beginning of the official journey of Monkey D. Luffy, the man who would become the Pirate King. Chapter 9. The man who will become king of the pirates. Chapter Text 12. Fame. Power. The man who had everything in this world. The Pirate King, Gold Roger. The great treasure he left behind. One Piece has opened the curtain on a grand era. It is a time when eager pirates set sail, battle, and become great, the great age of pirates. Words he spoke before his execution drove countless men out to sea. My treasure? If you want it, you can have it. I left everything I have to offer over there. And so, men set sights on the Grand Line, in pursuit of their dreams. The world has truly entered a great pirate era. Aboard a commercial ship, pirates had already attacked. Tell me boys, who's the fairest pirate in all the seas? Questioned a female pirate in a threatening way, one standing on the deck of the ship. The female in question was a large woman, the size of a small whale. She was built like Ontu. A freckled face below shaggy black hair. She wore an oversized cowboy hat and carried with her a large spiked iron mace as big as her. She had a pistol tucked into her purple sash to finish off her look. This was Iron Mace, Alvida, a pirate with a bounty of 5 million berries. It's Alvida-sama. All of her crewmates screamed at once, but anyone with an ounce of common sense could see how insincere they were. Koby, Alvida yelled out. The boy she called jumped in fright, quivering under her glare. He shrunk under her frightening glare. Koby was a small, young boy with pink hair and glasses, who also looked fragile next to Alvida. "Get your sorry behind over there, or you'll get the club," she threatened the young boy, even raising her iron club. He flinched and frantically scrambled across the deck, before jumping over to the other boat, not wanting to be whacked across the ship by a spiked iron mace bigger than him. Koby flailed around as he struggled to obtain balance, before holding his chest and letting out a sigh, but he couldn't relax. Not when he heard a hideous cry behind him. Flinching, his body entered a flight or fight state and quickly, he jumped out of the way. And it's a good thing too, because Alvida landed exactly where he was standing. She also broke down the wall in the process. Noblemen, civilians, and staff. All of them appeared on deck and watched in horror and fear, as the pirates quickly raided their ship. "What's this? Scared? We won't hurt any of ya, but we will take your valuables. If you don't want to get hurt, stay out of our way." The pirates warned the terrified passengers. Anyone that stepped out of line will probably be killed by these ruthless pirates. Jackpot, is what she was thinking as she saw such an opportunity arise. The orange-haired beauty smirked, slinking away behind the crowd of rich assholes. She'd been stalking the Alvida crew for a while now, and her bet of them attacking this boat had paid off. "I knew the whirlpool would pull these assholes in." And, as the pirates focused on the crowd of whining and terrified masses of rich folk, she snuck away between the shadows of the cruise liner without being noticed. When she was far enough, she grabbed at the hem of her striped dress, pulling it off her body in a fluid motion, revealing the shorts and blue shirt she'd worn underneath. She grabbed a bandana out of the bag in the process and wore it, before making her way to the edge of the deck. She reached the ropes the crew had used to get on board, smiling with glee at the thought of using their own tools against them. And so, she slid down the ropes and onto the deck of the pink pirate ship using her three-piece staff. Unsure if all the crew had left the ship, she tiptoed around the deck. Just as she was about to open the door leading down into the hold of the ship, the door swung open on its own. There was a pirate, at least one left, and he had just walked out, right as she was about to sneak it. She froze, her arms pulled up in the sudden panic she felt. Yet her eyes never left the pirate in front of her. "MNH, who are you?" The man started looking her up and down. "I've never seen you before." Pop. He never got to finish his sentence, bow staff smacking him right between the legs with a horrific pop. The poor man let out a wordless squeak, falling onto the deck in a painful spasm, knocked out from the pain. She slipped through the door into the depths of the ship, unbothered by the pirate she may have disabled. Koby walked across the deck, trying to create distance between himself and Alvida. He was looking at the floor with a panicked and also sad expression. He definitely needed to act fast. He didn't want to be here, nor did he want to loot anything. He was not a pirate. He'd never be a pirate, and yet, what choice did he have? If he didn't want to get punished, he would have to bring some loot back. But at the same time, he didn't want to hurt anyone. "Perhaps the lower decks have some food or booze I can take. Hopefully Alvida-sama will accept that and not hit me again." The ground became darker, as if engulfed by shadows. "Huh? What's that in the sky?" Koby craned his head upwards, his eyes squinted as he saw a singular black dot in the sky. Koby raised one hand to his forehead to block out the rays of the sun that were blinding him. He heard laughter and saw light, yet the floorboards were being shadowed. "Is it just me? Or is that getting bigger?" he asked to no one in particular. And yeah, it was getting bigger. Or at least, it seemed like it. It was getting closer. Gomu Gomu no. Koby couldn't believe his eyes. He heard something stretch, and before he even understood what was happening, something that grabbed onto the ship's mast. It was long, elastic and stretchy. But it had fingers and was gripping onto the wood. It was a hand rocket. It didn't take long for the gears to tick and Koby immediately panicked and failed. The projectile was zooming towards the ship at high speeds, specifically towards him. "AAH!" Koby screamed as he jumped out of the way of the blurring red meteor that would have likely flattened him. The wall behind him exploded into wooden bits and splinters, dust and debris being thrown into the air. Koby fell flat on his butt and stared at the hole that was now made in the ship, slack-jawed. What just happened?" Koby questioned, blinking in confusion as he failed to comprehend what crashed into the ship. Slowly, Koby stood up and dusted himself. Luckily, he escaped injury. With slow, careful steps, he approached the hole and looked into it. He then looked around. No one else had nearby. He looked back down and gulped, before throwing himself down into the hole. He walked down the splittered hall and slowly made the corner, revealing a destroyed wall. Without a doubt, whatever it was that crashed, was inside that room. And he could hear it. Laughter. Koby heard a cheerful voice laughing within that room. It made his blood run cold. Because either the thing that crashed was not a thing at all and was actually a person, or there were civilians inside the room while it happened. But why would they be laughing about this though? Luffy, that was reckless. He heard another voice yell, this one was female. She, it's fine, Uta, no one got hurt. Luffy gave her his reassurance. Getting a better view, Koby noticed two different people in the wrecked room. The one that was laughing was Luffy, dressed in red, revealing his scared torso and his signature straw hat safely secured on his head. The girl yelling at him was Uta, the daughter of red hair, Shanks. She had white and red hair and wore a special, weird-looking headphone. You almost did, though. There was that pink-haired kid that you almost flattened. Uta yelled at Luffy, mentioning Koby, who flinched when she called him out. It's fine, he's alright, isn't he? Luffy said this, but then his head turned towards Koby's hiding spot, making him squeal in fright as he you there, sorry about almost hitting you and everything, but you're fine, right? Koby stuttered, not knowing what to say. Instead, he opted to sheepishly nod his head. That was enough for Luffy, who quickly turned around and smiled at Uta smugly, making the idol roll her eyes. Who are you? Koby fearfully questioned, slowly gathering up the courage to speak after realizing he wasn't being attacked by them. The man turned and smiled back at him. Monkey D. Luffy, the boy who's gonna be king of the pirates. I was born and raised in Fuchsia Village, Dawn Island. Trained by Grandpa and set out to sea a few years ago with Shanks and Uta. He introduced himself without shame, maybe giving away a bit too much, before jumping to his feet and dusting his hat, the one he treasured so much. What? Koby didn't catch all that. My name is Uta. Nice to meet you. She also introduced herself, but this time, Koby actually recognized her. Huh? Uta? The world-famous idol, Uta? You're her? This made Uta grin Luffy. Her posture was oozing with smugness. Luffy pouted in response to her smugness. See? Even here, I'm more popular than you? That's only because the people of this sea don't know about the Grand Line. When I become king of the pirates, I'll be more known than even you. We'll see about that. It doesn't matter what you do or how high your bounty becomes. My songs are known far and wide. I'll always be more popular. Uta was blatantly gloating in his face, while Luffy rolled his eyes in playful frustration, but quickly smiled as he looked back at Koby. Why are you here? And who's this? Koby looked at Uta and questioned. Why would a popular idol like her, who allegedly had connections to an emperor of the sea, come to the East Blue? It made no sense at all. Also, who's the guy next to her? And why did they fall out of the sky? Also, did he just say, King of the Pirates, huh? Well, Koby. What are you doing down, air? A gruff voice was heard, making Koby flinch. All three heads turned to look at three pirates, all standing by the door and staring at the destroyed room in surprise and confusion. The one in the front already had a saber in his hands and an expression that showed he was looking for trouble. The others had yet to pull out their weapon, but he was not looking much friendlier. They seemed like they were about to say something else to the boy when they noticed the other two people Koby was talking to. Yo, Luffy said. For a moment, nothing happened. However, already knowing what would happen in the next few seconds, Uta moved her head from Luffy's shoulder, giving him a bit more space to react. Intruders. The first man charged at Luffy with his dagger shining in the sunlight, ready to slice into his rubber body and make his blood splurt out. He foolishly jumped at the former Yonko commander, who stared up at him without care. The blade shattered to pieces. The man's hand was broken. Before he could even register what happened, a firm grip settled around his face. He felt his skull crack from it, before completely blacking out. Crash! Dust and splinters raised as the wooden floor broke apart. The man was now stuck in the ceiling, body dangling, with just his legs and arms limp. Bang! Rang a gunshot. A bullet whizzed through the air, directly at Luffy's head. His head changed and the bullet bounced back towards the pirate that shot him, making him scream in pain. The sudden feeling of getting shot made Luffy look at the now screaming, bleeding pirate in confusion. What's his problem? How dare you shoot him? The last pirate screamed at him, before running at him with a raised club. Luffy, not caring about any of this, turned to Uta with a confused expression. But Uta, I don't know how to use a gun. Uta just shrugged in response. Thwack! The man bashed the side of Luffy's head with a club, making his head squish inwards and start vibrating like a sprain. The impact sent vibrations through the attacker's forearm. Luffy looked at the talker male with a displeased expression. What's your problem? I'm talking to Uta, you know. I'm fighting, idiot, stop talking, eh? Fighting? There's a fight happening? Where? Luffy asked, eyes wide with excitement either to watch or join the fight, making Uta giggle fondly in the background. I'm fighting you! The pirate screamed at the idiot captain, who stared up at the man in confusion. Huh? Really? Then why didn't you attack me? Luffy didn't feel any pain, so he wasn't attacked, right? Years in the New World completely changed Luffy's entire perspective of power. I literally did. Oh, then it's my turn then? Wah! Crash! A punch rang out and the man disappeared. The wall next to them had a man-shaped hole in it, as if perfectly cut out. The pirate he just punched fell into the ocean, probably. He beat them so easily, Koby was flummoxed. Uta started clapping. Good job, Luffy. That's the first weakling I think you've abused in 4 years. Uta was proud of her boyfriend and to be Kane. Weird weak guys, attacking out of nowhere. Uta, is that normal in the East Blue? Luffy only ever faced fodder at the start. Ever since then, every opponent he faced besides the Marine Legions were all strong and could use haki. And as he usually did with things he didn't really understand, Luffy asked his girlfriend, hoping for some clarification. Kashishi, for some pirates, yes. She chuckled as she finally moved to Luffy's side again. Uta leaned on Luffy's shoulder and then turned towards Koby, who was still stunned. Hey, Koby, right? Were those your crewmates? Don't you want revenge? She inquired. Huh, what? No, they are not my friends. Koby shook his head side to side, vehemently denying any relation with those pirates. This confused Luffy. Then why's he even here? Why's he hanging out with pirates he doesn't want to be with? That's when it clicked. Luffy was still in every way an idiot, but years in the New World taught him a lot. Anyway, do you know where I can get some food around here? I'm starving. Koby blinked and shook his head. Wait, no, you should run away. This ship is under Alvida's control. If they find out about their missing crewmates, they'll find you and kill you. But I'm hungry. How can you be so carefree? Koby exclaimed in shock and anxiety. Oi, Koby. You know who I am, right? Why are you worried about this Alvida person? I can beat her myself. Uta says in a matter-of-fact tone of voice. You being the daughter of an emperor doesn't matter. Red hair isn't here with you. Alvida will easily kill you, or use you for ransom. Koby sputtered in fear, which made Luffy burst out laughing. He couldn't believe what he just heard. Uta looked ticked off. Some East Blue bumpkin use her as ransom, or worse. Who even is this Alvida lady anyway? What's her bounty? 5 million, Koby chirped. Silence. They could hear the ship creaking, the waves bashing the hull. Ah, I get it. Uta. Koby thinks you can't fight. Luffy clicked his fingers, as if he figured something great. This only Uta roll her eyes. Just because I'm an idol doesn't mean I can't fight. I didn't spend my whole life on Shanks' ship and pick up nothing, you know? It's explained to Koby. She genuinely felt insulted that Koby even considered such a possibility. Come on, Uta. Let's go eat. I want food. Luffy said that before barreling about the door, not bothering to wait for either of them to come along. Uta and Koby stared at the door in silence. Uta turned to the smaller boy and asked, So, wanna come with us? How did you get stuck here anyway? Luffy questioned as he started taking apples out of the pantry to eat, making Koby stiffen as he remembered that stressful day. He even offered an apple to Uta, who smiled and took it. She took a small bite out of it as Koby began to glare down at the boards. It happened on one fateful day. I got on a boat hoping to go fishing. The scrawny teen gulped, balling his fists on the hem of his shirt. It turned out to be a boat headed for Alvida's ship. And for the last 2 years I've been their chore boy against my will. Man, you're dumb and stupid, Luffy exclaimed, making Koby wilt under his gaze, the younger man whimpering about just how brutally honest he was being. If you don't like it, just run away. I can't, no way, Koby whimpered. Just the thought of Alvida finding me when I try to escape makes me weak in the knees. I can't, I'll die. So you're a wimp too? Luffy hummed, as he turned around to leave the room. Man, I really hate you, ha ha ha. This made Koby whimper and cry pitifully at how brutally honest Luffy was. It was clear from his tone that he wasn't even trying to insult Koby, but rather just speaking his mind. Kahaha. That's cruel, Luffy, Uda said that, but she was also laughing. Koby gritted his teeth in frustration and looked down. I know I'm weak, but I have a dream. Oh, Luffy's interest was piqued. He loved hearing about other people's dreams. We have dreams too. Uda wants to change the world with me, and I want to be the freest man in the world and become king of the pirates, Luffy declared with a smile, making Koby do a spit take. What, king of the pirates? Yeah, are you serious? Yep, so you really are a pirate too, obviously? And your crew? Just Uta and me for now. What's your bounty? 1,565,663,000 berries. That's, wait what? Koby's mind crashed. He'd never seen that kind of money in his life, never even imagined it. His jaw dropped, his body went limp and he just stared. He fell on the floor, limp. He almost fainted right then and there. He was talking to a big-name pirate, not some rookie who managed to nab himself an emperor's daughter. Suddenly the 5 million berries on Alvida's head seemed comically small. And why you think you can be king of the pirates? Totally. But, even for a man like you, how can it be possible? The pirate king is a man with fame, wealth and power. A man with everything in the world. The last king, Gold Roger, was the only man to ever conquer the entire Grand Line. The man who found the One Piece. Yeah, so we're gonna find it, and you think you can do it? He asked in a meek tone. It sounds impossible. Luffy was with me and Shanks, you know? Uda spoke up, making Koby look at her. What? Why do you think he has a bounty like that? Uda smiled whilst talking about the man she loved. Luffy was one of Shanks' best, a commander of the Red Hair Pirates, of course. It was only temporary since Luffy wanted to set sail on his own, but during his time with us he was amazing. I truly believe Luffy can become king. As Uda said this, Koby noticed the devotion in her eyes. Those love-struck eyes are ones that you only ever see on a maiden in love. And besides, Roger has already done it before, so it's achievable. And it really doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, Koby, Luffy said, grabbing the boy's attention. It's my dream to become king of the pirates. Only by becoming king of the pirates, can I become the freest man in the world. And only then, can I live up to my name. If I die during the process, then I die. It's that simple. Luffy explained with a serious expression. His face was firm and his experienced eyes held wisdom a boy his age shouldn't have. Also, Koby. Don't ever insult a person's dream, not matter how unattainable or silky it is. A man's dream never ends, you know. Luffy told this to Koby with a serious tone and sharp eyes, as if teaching him a lesson. Koby stared at him, then at Uta and then back down. He looked at his own hands, the hands he used to scrub the ship of a weak ugly pirate. They both had big dreams they would do anything to accomplish, even their own lives. They're both strong. Apparently Luffy was a Yonko commander? He felt pathetic, like a loser compared to them. Hey, don't beat yourself up, Uta told him, bringing her hand to shoulder and tapping it. You shouldn't give up on your dream either. Really? Yeah. If you truly want something, you go after it no matter what. But what if I die? Then you died chasing your dreams to the very end. If I ever die in my journey, that's the only way it should be. I will not accept any other death, Luffy declared. He will achieve his dream, or die in the process, and there's no in-between. Koby couldn't believe the smile Luffy was giving him, only minutes after being ticked off. It made the young man sniffle in appreciation. It was the first real positivity he'd seen in 2 years. You know what? You're both right, I'm not going to give up. That's the spirit. I'm gonna get off of Alvida's ship and do what I've always wanted to do. And what's that? I want to join the Navy, he declared, standing up with tears welling up in his eyes. Navy? Yes. It's always been my dream to catch bad guys. Since I was little, I want to join the Navy and become a Marine Admiral. So, if I'm ready to die for me dream. Do you think I could do it? He declared while also asking, begging for their opinion. That was his dream. They were pirates. He probably shouldn't tell them he wanted to be a Marine, but he was so moved by their words, he couldn't help it. How should I know? It's your future, not mine, Luffy replied with a smile. He's right. That's for you to decide, not us. You shouldn't be bothered to ask for our opinion. If you want to do it, then do it, Uda encouraged him. Yeah, you're right. I'll do it. I'll become a Marine and catch all the worst pirates, starting with Alvida, he declared, motivated for the first time in ages. Yeah, the other two cheered. Does that include me too? A voice was heard, pitched and annoyed, sending chills down the cabin boy's spine. The wall caved in and a massive shape was standing by the door. The cabin boy squeaked in terror as the dust cleared and revealed a colossally obese woman, her bloated form stuffed into a bright pink shirt under and a blue captain's coat. Clutched in her hand was a black iron mace, studded with spikes on the end. I'm sorry, Koby, would you care to repeat that? She said with a sly politeness. What was that about escaping to become a Marine? He slowly looked behind to see his ever-so-hated captain there, with some of her underlings behind her. Alvida-sama, Koby, she barked, shutting him up in a second, who is the most beautiful woman in the seas. Why that's you, of course. Well, it's not you, Uda chimed in. The air in the galley seemed to freeze as Alvida's entire crew gaped at Uda, the woman that said it. The captain herself was gritting her teeth hard enough to bite through stone. What did you just say? I said it, you're not the most beautiful woman in the world. That title belongs to the pirate empress of Amazon Lily, Boa Hancock. Uda spoke in a matter-of-fact tone and stared at Alvida in pity. She's so insecure about her appearance that she wants people to feed her delusions, poor woman. You bitch, who the hell do you think you are? Who's this fat whale? Luffy suddenly asked, making all the Alvida pirates stare at him in shock. Unlike Uda who merely disagreed, Luffy straight up insulted her. Who are you calling a hag, brat? Alvida screeched, enraged. You. Luffy pointed at her. The dual-haired woman laughed at her boyfriend's comment. Everyone stopped breathing. Alvida's face distorts with hate, her expression being scary enough to give a little kid nightmares for years. You little shit. You and your bitch don't know any better, I'll beat that lesson into you myself, she threatened. Luffy's expression changed to a glare. I don't know who you are, but don't insult Uda like that. She's way more beautiful than you. WTHE pirates, she's gonna be my queen, he glared at Alvida. Luffy said that in a same tone, as honest as always. His words made Uda's chest swell in pride and warmth, her smile becoming even brighter. Koby looked distraught. I thought this was it. I could finally escape and become a Marine, but this? How can I get out of this one? Koby, what's your dream? Luffy completely ignored Alvida. Don't ignore me, you runt. Shut up. Don't you want to hear Koby's dream? I will. I want to join the Navy, he declared, making Alvida stare down at him in disbelief. What? The Navy? You? She asked, unable to comprehend the absurdity. That's right. I'm gonna join the Navy and catch all the bad pirates in the world, and I'm gonna catch your lousy ass and throw you in jail, he declared fearlessly, with Luffy by his side. Well said, Koby, Luffy gave him a thumbs up of encouragement. You brats. I'll destroy you both. She raised her face to smash Luffy's head in, and Koby beneath him. Meanwhile, Uda leaned against the wall and stared at them with her arms folded. She was smiling and tapping her foot. Of course Luffy would help a future Marine despite being a pirate, that's so like him. Koby's eyes widened in fear and shock. Luffy didn't bother turning around nor did he make any efforts to stop Alvida's attack. And it hit. Alvida's club slammed directly onto Luffy's head, as Koby screamed. The impact of the club was enough to shake the entire deck and blow wind, but it did nothing to the future Pirate King. It bounced back. There was a boing sound, as solid iron met stretchy rubber. As soon as it hit his head, it bounced backwards, hitting Alvida square in the face. In pain, She grabbed her nose in pain and dropped her own club. What? How's that even possible? I'm a rubber person, ahahaha. He laughed, pulling his cheek and stretching it to show it off. Oh yeah, Suor. A rubber person. Totally not a sun god. Uda giggled in the sideline. Rubber person, Koby muttered. Devil fruit. Alvida muttered in disbelief. Yeah, and I think it's my turn to attack you. The wood cracked when lightning hit it in front of his face. Luffy's palm appeared in front of her core. Alvida's eyes were wide with shock, but she didn't exactly have any time to register what happened next. There was a loud boom. Wind was blown away in strong gusts, shattering the wood that made the entire room and even the walls, floor and ceiling. This was not a punch, but a palm strike. One palm, just away from Alvida's bloated frame. The impact shattered the room and Alvida disappeared. Koby blinked. He looked at Luffy's hand, outstretched, and knew immediately that Luffy had attacked Alvida and sent her flying. The ceilings all shattered. The pirates behind Alvida were caught in the attack and were also sent flying, likely falling somewhere in the ocean. Uda walked towards Luffy, completely unbothered by everything. I think we should leave, she suggested. Koby looked at the two of them in awe, especially at Luffy. He defeated Alvida in one strike, so fast that she disappeared from sight. So fast that no one even saw what happened. He gulped, in fear, excitement and awe. So this is a pirate. Worth 1.5 billion berries. Alright. Let's go. Luffy grabbed Koby and Uda, before jumping out of the ship and onto the deck. The remaining Alvida pirates were all on the deck there. They saw something destroy the top of the ship they were looting and go flying into the horizon. Who the hell are they? Uda snapped her fingers and pointed at them all. You guys are going to give us a boat and you're going to let us leave, and we're taking Koby with us. Wait, what? Koby squeaked. The Marines will be here soon. You're a former member of this Kree, even if not by choice. It's a bad first impression, don't you think? Uda looked down at the boy with a smile while explaining. Hell no. Who do you think you are, woman? Alvida-sama will beat you all up. Those pirates on board didn't see Alvida. You're Alvida's men? Perfect. Your captain should be drowning in her natural habitat somewhere in that direction. Uda pointed out to the sky nonchalantly. Huh? What's that supposed to mean? It means, I sent her flying. Ahahaha. Luffy started laughing while patting his bicep. Huh? What did you say? Luffy, can you shut them up? Uda requested. Sure. And suddenly, all the Alvida pirates lost consciousness. All of them felt an enormous invisible weight pushing them down and drowning out their consciousness, leaving them all knocked out. Koby's jaw dropped, but he didn't even know why he was surprised anymore. But he still couldn't help it. This kid was young, naive, weak and ignorant of the real world. That was amazing, Luffy-san. He looked up at Luffy like a kid who just found his idol. His cute childish expression made Uda laugh fondly. Boom, boom, boom. 3 explosions were heard. Water was blasted high up. The Navy, Koby exclaimed, looking at the 3 ships firing cannonballs at them. Let's go, Luffy. Is there a boat here? Uda looked around and sighed. If not, we'll just have to nab one of the Navy ships. Don't joke around, Uda-san, Koby cried, close to tears. Luffy's head then twisted. His observation Haki went off and he noticed a small boat near the ship, making him grin. He grabbed both Uda and Koby by their wrists. Come on guys, there's a boat down here. Running over to the edge of the ship, he vaulted over the railings with Uda and Koby in his grasp and fell onto the small boat beneath them. In the dinghy, was the same orange-haired woman that just stole from the Alvida pirates. The dinghy rocked and water splashed as the 3 fell into it, making the girl scream. Oh, there's someone here. Luffy noticed. She stared at the 3 wondering who they were. Another explosion happens near them, rocking and almost flipping the dinghy. Uda scowls at the Marines. They're firing too close to a civilian boat. As far as she's concerned, the orange-haired girl might have been a civilian. I got this. Another cannonball was shot, making Koby cover himself. Luffy jumped in the air and grabbed it like it was a ball, making the orange-haired girl stare with bulging eyes. I think you guys lost this, he exclaimed, before throwing it back at the ship, destroying the entire ship. Koby stared at him in disbelief and awe. What the shit? The orange-haired girl exclaimed in disbelief. Luffy, send us flying. Uda grabbed the girl by the forearm, making her yelp in surprise. Wait, what? Koby exclaimed and was quickly hugged Uda, to prevent him from falling. We need to get this dinghy out of here, leave it to me. Luffy turned around, jumped in the air and tipped the boat up, making it fly. Then, with one punch, he created a shockwave that blasted the dinghy high in the sky, making the two new passengers scream their hearts out in fear, holding onto the laughing dual-haired woman for safety. This got them away from the ship and the navy.